Oh, the.
Hey.
Oh, what's up, John? You're gonna be proud of me. I fixed the inventory system all by myself.
Oh, nice. How do we keep on running out of shit? What do people
It's
keep
a
on...
tight. Apparently, I guess Jared was shoving in like a bunch of plants or something that he found.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's always the types.
Yeah. Seth said I made a bunch. I made 10 more 1Ks.
Yeah. That's the right call. I've been too lazy to do it. I've been doing them like 3 at a time, but like 10.
Yeah, at least that way, like, it's constantly an issue. So hopefully that'll, because he didn't know what to do. So luckily I figured it out.
Well, each one is like more than 2 chests worth of item types. So
yeah. I mean, to be fair, you have the auto crafters. So Seth said that, because I tried auto crafting it before, but Seth said that it got like bugged up or something, where like it got clogged up because there was no inventory for it to put it into.
So yeah, if you're auto crafting cells and the thing is full, you have to go pull a couple item types out.
Yeah, it worked then after I pulled a bunch of stuff out.
Wait, the inventory system's not working.
Right, I told you I fixed it.
Justin already fixed it.
Oh.
That's what he said.
Look at that.
You can go break it again, Joseph.
He also told me who made it not working. So
who broke it? Who did it? I feel like he's lying. I think he's making it up.
Surely.
You start drinking yet?
Yeah, I cracked open a cold one for the boys.
Yeah, when?
Like just a couple minutes ago.
Oh, man, nice.
Yeah, I'll drink something tonight. I got some beer stashed. Maybe I'll do
bunch of alcoholics.
No, I think I'll do.
My sister was like, be careful drinking, Justin. She's like, you don't drink a lot. 1 is a lot for you.
1's a lot for me now. Well, not that bad, but it's bad. Let's see, did my diesel stay running this time? Look at that. That's what we like to see.
Is the nuclear reactor working?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I saw it was like almost done. Like all the wires are hooked up.
Yes. That is the case.
Many men stepped upon me.
You're so racist.
Well, it's 50. His name is Chris
Brown.
Brown. No, that's racist.
So.
Yeah, if you think he looks like Chris Brown, those are the racist
He
people.
looks way more like Chris Brown than he does 50
Oh,
Cent.
of course you would say that.
What? He looks like old Chris Brown.
I mean, oh, never mind.
What?
Nothing.
What are you trying to say?
What level are you in Minecraft now, Jared?
450?
Wait, you just were using the XP farm?
Oh yeah, I'm MLG Pro.
Dang.
Why? What level are you?
I was trying to level up, but how long were you under it? I'm level 266.
He has that speed bag thing. Do you have one of those? The
Yeah, I know I do.
temporal pouch.
Mine only has 7 hours though.
Mine has 78 hours. Jesus Christ.
That's what Seth was like super maxed out. I was like,
Jeez, what's wrong with you people? 78
I mean,
hours.
if I would have made it when Seth told me to make it, mine would have been the same.
Yeah, do we want to run the numbers on how long it took you to get a clear in the Destiny raid, Jared? We want to.
Yeah.
Less than that.
There.
Less than that.
Have you still beaten it yet?
Yeah, I beat it like 4 times now.
3 times. I
You
looked
LFG
it up
it?
on the way here.
Oh, is it the stat tracker? I tried to check yesterday, but the stat tracker was down. Is it 3? I thought it was 4.
It's what Destiny raid report said.
No, it's got to be at least 3. It's got to be at least 4.
It said 3.
Right? Huh.
Did you do it with your team or did you have to LFG?
No, I did it with my team, and then I LG'd it for another one.
Oh wow. I did not think they were ever gonna beat it. You know, you
Yeah.
were recording that. They
Well,
were
honestly,
struggling.
We beat it, and then we were like, okay, let's like run other characters to the first couple encounters.
Mhm.
And in like half an hour, we had beaten the first 4 encounters. Like we literally flew through the encounters and then beat it again. We beat the second one in like an hour total, I think. Like we literally just like flew through it.
Damn.
And I was like, that's so weird to go from like struggling for fucking ever and then like something just clicked and they understood how to do the encounter.
They just had to like sleep on it for like 3 weeks, and after you taught them exactly what to do, they finally figured it out.
They had to go to bed fucking 20 times.
They say you like learn stuff better when you like after you sleep or something. Just took them a couple extra. They're special.
There are times where I've had that where like I couldn't beat like a boss or a certain encounter or something, and I'd like go to bed after trying for like 6 hours, and then the next morning I'd wake up and like do it first try and just be like, wow, that was like how is it so much easier? And a lot of the like the teams that were racing for worlds first when they realized that they weren't going to win worlds first, and it was like 28 hours in, a lot of them were just like, you know what, we're just gonna go to sleep. And so they took like 6, they went to bed for like 6 hours, and they came back, and then like Dado beat it like the second try when he came back. He's like, it was crazy how much easier it was after we actually like went to bed.
Say this though, the Guinness with that nitro ball, it pours better than if you get like draft at the bar. You get like a
I
fat
don't
head
know.
on the top.
I do like it better in the cans with the nitro ball than the bottles, though.
Well, it tastes a little metallic though, so maybe the can not 100%, but
If you could have like bottle with the nitro ball, that'd
oh
probably be the
god,
best.
yeah.
But the bottles don't do nitro
I
balls.
think you can taste it tastes a little metallic, but not bad.
Do you like my detective sleuthing to find your Reddit account?
More degeneracy. I mean, was it even detective sleuthing? Didn't I just
Oh,
post it?
You posted the link to the whatever, and I was reading through the comments, and I'm like, oh, everyone is telling this guy he's like a lunatic, and I'm like, oh, here's one person who's not telling this guy he's a lunatic. This person must be a lunatic. And it's like, it's in the profile. And then I like, one of the top things was like, yeah, I main Clove, Viper, and Omen in
that's
Valorant.
false.
And I was like, oh my God, is it Justin? So then I remembered that you posted that thing where you blocked out your name, where the guy was like, oh, this guy's the best
and you
streamer, I
found
can
that
vouch for
comment
him.
then. Okay.
And I found that. 100% confirm Justin's Reddit account. Until it gets banned.
Yeah, please report it. Report it for
Report
like
it to the admins,
bypassing
yeah.
the ban or something. It's supposed to be bannable.
I'll the comment like, I shouldn't be doing this job for you, but
I feel that was a harsh sentence.
for inciting violence.
I was not inciting violence. I was condoning.
I remember you said you were like,
one
you're like, I
person's
didn't
terrorist
incite
is another
anything, and I
person's
like
freedom fighter.
sent you the link of the definition of inciting, and you're like, oh.
I don't think it's inciting. I just said somebody should do something about it. Or I didn't even see that. I did not even say that. I said it would be deserved if someone did something. That is not incitement. I should start like a super PAC fund or something. And it's just the super PAC is drone strike right HQ. Donald Trump, please drone strike right HQ. And we just like we raise like $1 billion and then give it to him.
That would be an interesting way for him to win re-election.
I think he's pretty on track now, since didn't Biden say he's not backing down?
Yep.
What he said.
That's crazy. That's. Can't they make him back down? Can't the
No. You want to know why?
be like...
Because after they fucked Bernie Sanders over in 2016, Bernie got them to make a concession that essentially neutered the super delegates, where they used to be able to get rid of him.
Yes,
because they used them to beat Bernie.
Damn.
And because of that, they no longer they can't vote if like the majority, if a candidate reaches 50% of the vote. So they just really fuck themselves. He has to agree to step down.
We blame Bernie for this one.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to keep up the full court press on him. Is it like
I don't know.
all the media, all the fucking? There's like 5 different articles whenever I look at CNN about how Biden should leave and why Biden should leave and how Biden should leave.
It's their only chance.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, the other problem is though, like, okay, Kamala would probably run, but you would have to be a fucking lunatic. Like, you're literally, if you lose that election, you're ending your political career. Like, you're done.
Kamala would lose. She would lose hard.
I don't know.
I would win.
If you
It's
lose
just
to
that-
Trump, though, I feel like that's just it for you.
Justin,
What?
if Biden stays, I think we know who's winning.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's for sure. But I'm just saying, even if you change him, you have to get someone to agree to it.
Correct.
I don't want Trump to win just so we can be done with him. I don't want another one of these.
That is
You don't
fair.
know this is
John
his last
doesn't
term.
wanna
God,
You
if
don't
they
know
try
this
and
is
get
his
his
last term.
kids, oh my God,
You
no.
don't know this is his last term. You don't
Yeah,
know.
okay.
They just passed a bunch of laws.
Yeah, I
This
mean,
might-
technically,
technically, if he does it
I don't
under
think he's good. I don't think he's good enough at playing the game with Congress
That he'll get another one.
to get him then to really get rid of the term limit.
they should send me. I had the best debate. Imagine like the next debate is me and Charlie walk on stage, and I'm just like, the first thing I said to Mike, I'm just like, "You fat fucking faggot."
you'd win. You would instantly win. I don't understand why people don't realize that. Like, if you literally just go out there and act like
just
a
talk like emo
Yeah.
shit every question, I'm just like, look how fucking fat he is, his tits and his chest. You're voting for a woman over here.
I hope so bad that they have like a golf tournament or something. Do some kind of
They both-
charity golf
They both
tournament.
die.
Yeah,
Dude.
God.
They
Heart
both
attack.
die of heat stroke.
I
It's a
don't
real
know. I'll say
possibility.
this: they both got pilots that fly them around anywhere. You could be a fucking hero. I don't know.
Listen, Justin, all we need to do is have them go play golf at like the hottest.
Just Arizona,
Yeah, exactly. We send them to fucking Arizona.
Tulsa Trump Tower golf course.
Well,
Or it's not Tulsa.
America,
What is it?
America has
Tucson, Arizona, or whatever.
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, well, whatever. It's all out there. It's all desert.
Dude, it doesn't matter. Arizona's fucking hot.
You don't have to name it. Just,
Exactly. You could send them to Tucson too. It don't matter where. They're just going to Arizona.
This fucking Argon is killing me.
Currently 110
that's what it is there.
110 degrees. It is 6 o'clock.
Bro, I'm so soft. Like, it's like 85 outside now, and I'm like dying.
It's awful, dude. Yesterday yesterday evening, it was bad. Like, we were out weeding the garden. I was sweating.
Wow.
Why are you saying it's a high of 68 visit Arizona? Oh, that's winter months. Okay, we can't send them the Flagstaff. It is according to the Visit Arizona weather. The average temperature in Flagstaff for summer is a high of 69 degrees.
Oh shit.
They're not going there. Literally anywhere that averages 100 plus, yeah, they're going there.
Death Valley.
Is that Arizona? I thought that was Cali.
It's California, but yeah, hot there.
Yeah, we could send them there, but I don't think there's a golf course there. When the high is 122 and the low is 90 degrees. Oh. That's Death Valley. Oh, perfect. It's literally the hottest month.
Job. Nobody likes me. I make people cry and angry all the
But
time.
they don't punch me because
And-
they'd get fired if they did, so it must be working.
Yes, exactly. And at another point, like she said, and you know, one of the people that we gave these trainings to recently, for example, was asked not to come back. She doesn't say fired. She said they were asked not to come back, and then she said he was scared of so and so's hair, and it was like a woman who had like box braids or something.
He went to an
And
anti-racist
the black-
farm upstate.
Yeah. And the she tries to make sort of a joke to this woman that she just met. And she's like, yeah, they were scared of her hair, you know? How you guys have different hair. And like the woman like later points out this makes her, she says to another person that this made her uncomfortable. She's like, I don't know
Yeah.
you have not been invited to the cookout. We don't have that kind of relationship. And she does a big thing where she atones and she pulls the woman aside and she's like, I would like to apologize and work through the racism that I did to you. Would you be amenable to that? And again, she never mentions if this woman is her employer or not, but they think she is. I think she is. I think she is her inferior. So she's not going to be like, no, bitch, leave me alone.
Well, even if she wasn't
Yeah.
inferior, like there's a certain level which you have to humor people in a workplace, and her
Yeah.
all of this stuff is built in the premise of we all have to get along, and the way we're going to get along is if we're all afraid of getting fired at any moment. We should treat life like we are under the watch of HR at all the times. Like at one point,
Well, they
she
are.
quotes, "No person of color whom I've met has said racism isn't at play with his or her friendships with white people." And you'd think that sounds sucky. Why would you be friends with somebody who like there's always this racial tension? Well, if you work with them and you don't really have a choice but to have some sort of modus vivendi with them, that's true.
Yes.
If you and those are the only interracial friendships she can imagine are ones that are essentially compulsory because they take place in the workplace.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
like
consistent thing is that she does not know what
Yeah.
friends are. Like I figured that out very early, and I'm like, oh, you don't have.
Yeah, she has
any
another
friends.
quote here.
You have
If racism
colleagues.
is not a topic of discussion between a white person and a person of color who are friends, this absence of conversation may indicate a lack of cross-racial trust. And it's like maybe, but it could also represent an abundance of trust because it's not something that comes up. That's possible. That's not impossible, but in her mind, that is precluded because once again, she's imagining all these relationships in the quasi compulsory context of employer relations.
Love to talk about racism all day with my POC friends.
Well, I mean, this reminds me of like again, we're talking about these sort of like prescriptions, these bullet points that are being offered now, directed at white people, like during a time in this country that is fraught with anger, trauma, anxiety over like the horrendous state of the world, and like the one of them that I remember was like white people. Like check in with your black friends and coworkers and just be like, hey, are you okay? Like, how are you doing right now? Are you like just what are your emotions like right now during this time of like anger and trauma? And it's just like, well, if they were your friend, you would be generally aware of what's going on in their life in the first place. And if they're not your friend, if they're just your coworker, like keep that shit to yourself. They don't want to hear that from you. Like, they don't want you just, like, leering over your fucking shoulder to just be like, are you okay? You know what I mean?
I was reading this over and over again, and after, making myself laugh because I was high, that after every paragraph, I just kept saying, ma'am, this is a Wendy's. Because it's the most, strange sort of environment that she completely decontextualizes. Like, she doesn't talk about the fact that this is work, that she makes her money from selling these services and these programs and models. And the subtext is, of course, that this is all to, one, lower liability for corporations for discrimination, and two, make it easier to fire people.
Yeah, just have something else, some problem relationship, some issue that can be then uses as cause.
Except it's not a Wendy's ever, of course. It's Unilever, it's Amazon. I'm sure she'll do something for ExxonMobil at some point. But like, it's all like universities and like major corporations that she does this for.
Well, what about like the title of the book, White Fragility, which she claims, she coined this term. So like, what is she talking about? What does she mean when she says
You're
white
bragging
fragility?
about that?
Yeah. And what she means is like the fragility comes from like the discomfort, the anger, the resentment that occurs when like a white person is asked to confront
Justin, guess what?
their place in America's racial hierarchy, or what race means in
Tell me before I got
general,
bit by a spider.
and or like that they might in some way be complicit
Yeah,
in
bit
racism.
by a
And she writes
spider?
here, these include emotions such as anger, fear, and
Yep.
guilt, and behaviors such as argumentation, silence, and withdrawal from the stress-inducing
I mean, yeah, that was
situation.
happened like
These
Spider-Man,
responses
right?
work to reinstate white equilibrium as they repel the challenge, return our racial comfort, and maintain our dominance within the racial hierarchy. I conceptualize this process as white fragility.
See me?
It actually kind of
White
rhymes.
fragility is triggered by discomfort
Tobey
and
Maguire
anxiety.
got bit
It
by
is
a
born of
spider.
superiority and
Tobey Maguire got
entitlement.
bit by a
White
spider.
fragility is not
That,
weakness
like, new
per
M&M
se.
song?
In fact, it is a powerful
Yeah.
means of white
Oh, is it
racial
really?
control and the protection of white advantage.
Big
And when
Sean.
I read
Tobey
that, I
Maguire
was
got
just
bit by a
like,
spider.
oh,
That's
white
actually
fragility
pretty
is like
good.
when an
That
armadillo
definitely
is
rhymes.
dead. It's just it's a way of like escaping like a dangerous
I see you
situation.
late, and I'm
like the
Obi-Wan
thing
had
is,
his mission,
in
and
reading
I'm
this
the
book,
hope.
she writes over and over again about like the importance of if you're a white person reading this, to really feel the discomfort that like these concepts and my ideas are causing you, and to just sort of stay with that, stay in that moment of discomfort. And I was like, well,
To, by the way, and this is the phrase she uses, in order to build your, and this is a term she uses, racial stamina, which sounds a lot like racial hygiene to me. Chris, could we work in a little bit of "Tomorrow Belongs to Me" for that? I'm not one of those optics people, but the phrase "racial stamina" is a bit ubermensch.
No,
It's a
why do these
little-
workers
Ryan
just
gives
keep
us
becoming
full
not
to the
farmers
It's
city.
fine.
anymore?
She's just saying that you got to work up your race stamina to
you
do the
not have
race
enough
marathon.
things for
And
them?
if you press yourself, you will get a race high eventually.
How are
Race
they making
stamina is
bread?
really more of a dump stat. You should put more into race intelligence.
Is one of them
Race charisma.
They might need a
Race
crafting
magic.
table if they're
if you
jerk.
want to, if you want to min max. But on the concept of white fragility, I mean, obviously
what?
whites are fragile
Craft
and they
bread?
need to be wrapped in old
No,
newspaper.
I don't know if they're
and
making
compartments.
bread. I don't want
But,
them to make bread.
I swear, I only read
Why don't
3
you want them
chapters
to
of the
make-
book, and all the chapters are very, very short. And I swear,
I want
just
them-
even within
I want
those
them
3
to do
chapters, she
black
defines the
bean,
concept of white fragility about a dozen times
Spinach.
with a different definition each time, like
lettuce
she's
and
describing
carrots, and
different
all they're doing is
aspects
carrots
of the
and
same
bread.
God.
Yeah. No, it's like
I don't know if
astrology.
they
It's
can do
everything.
any of the modded.
It's just a lens for
Yeah,
looking at
it's
things.
samsara.
Yeah.
modded
She's really
farming.
also just
What?
like packing in the word count there. Like there is, it's very, very repetitious because it's not a.
that and like and I read 3 chapters of it as well, and I was just thinking of like
I don't know which ones model ones are.
her admonition that like I remain uncomfortable reading it, and to
It's
that
not
extent,
based
like
Minecraft,
she was very
when you hover
successful
over
in
the
writing this
seeds?
book, but like my discomfort stemmed from my just dumbfounded boredom of just reading again very repetitive material over and over again. But I suppose that's kind of the point. It has to be sort of driven home. And just I made this note here. This is at the end of the introduction, and I think this gets to the kind of the nut of what she's going for. She writes here, this book is intended for us, for white progressives who so often, despite our conscious intentions, make life so difficult for people of color. I believe that white progressives cause the most daily
Thought you were
damage
sick,
to
was
people of color.
misdiagnosed.
And then she goes on here, none of our energy will go
they
into what we
shouldn't
need
have
to be doing for the
fireworks.
rest of our lives. Engaging in ongoing self-awareness, continuing
Yes, sir.
education, relationship building, and actual anti-racist
My sword
practice.
is so fucking cracked.
And I think this is where she gets in, is
Yeah.
like this is like this kind of
Yeah,
it's
a
like
little bit.
this self-fulfilling mechanism of people with her job. Is just like, hey, you don't want to be fragile? Well, the way out of it is to like,
Looting
continue
7,
to do the work.
Bane of
Continue to
Arthropod
do the work
6,
by
Sharpness
just
8,
hiring me,
Sweeping
buying
Edge
these
7.
books, continuing to do these
Did you
things.
put that
And
shit on a
soulbound,
book?
like,
Unbreaking
white progressives,
life
This is
mending.
aimed at you. You are actually the worst of all.
Yep.
Dude,
It's
we
just
might
like,
need
oh,
to
well,
get-
it couldn't be me. Oh no.
This book is a brochure.
It does
for
17
her
base
service.
damage,
No, it's-
But, like,
plus
it's
she's,
14
she's aiming it
gems.
directly at the heart of
And has
like
6
anxious
protection
white
pierce.
progressives. Is like that's
It, like,
her
one-shots
easy
almost
mark
everything.
that she's going for here.
Yeah.
Specifically, women.
The other thing
I
is that
forgot to add
nothing
fire
that she
to it, though. That was the only
prescribes,
thing I forgot.
which you just laid out, Will, like educating yourself, sitting with your discomfort, making bullet lists or whatever. None of that.
So
is
if you
anything.
store
That's
it
not
in
anti-racist
your
action.
fancy
Like,
table,
as the
can you
old
just
saying
you
goes,
can just
that and a dollar
infinitely
will
put
get
it
you a
on
cup
stuff,
of
right?
coffee. You
What do you
know.
mean?
Yeah. Well, that the idea behind all
Like
this stuff
if you
is
have
that
mending in that
is that
fancy
racism is foundational and cannot
storage
be removed.
library,
All it can be
Yeah.
done is ameliorated at
put
a
it
personal
on
level.
and it's
like
still in
original
there?
sin. It can only be atoned for.
Or is
But
it
then you
based
have
off
to
the
keep
enchantment
atoning.
table
You have to
and your
continually
levels?
atone because you will
That I'm not
continually
sure of.
sin because nothing can change. And so it's and the thing is that is a persuasive thing for a certain class of highly educated person for whom the injustice of society is some sort of a psychic burden. This is a way for them to alleviate that burden, but it's a way to alleviate that burden in a context where they never have to relinquish any of their material advantage.
It sucks that like people are being taught that, by the way, anti-racism, very painful. You're going to cry. You're not going to like it. And it's like, well, then why would they do it?
Well, that's just it. Is that it's assuming an audience. She says that. She pitches this to progressive whites for a reason. They're the only people who would see this deal and say, sure, and not fuck off. No, thank you.
Yeah,
just like in the Victorian era, it was only bored rich people who would go to Professor Graham's vitality clinic and have yogurt jammed up their ass and fucking graham crackers put in their urethra, because everyone else is like, that's insane. You have to have bought into the premise already, and that is why it's nihilistic, because it assumes, yeah, of course, most white people are going to say, what's in it for me? Because that's how people act about anything. That's why meaningful anti-racist action is class-based, because it gives everybody a stake in changing things for the better, whereas this just gives you a stake in feeling better about how bad things are always going to be.
And not getting fired.
Yeah.
Reading this book, she does stress over and over again that like for white people, like the beginnings of this journey begin with you being like sort of hyper aware of you as a member of the white race and what that means. And it really reminded me of on the Howard Stern show, used to have this KKK guy call in, and his sort of catchphrase would always be, "Wake up, white people." And I just think, like, I just read this book as the anti-racist version of that, where it's just, attention, white people, like, just, you are white, like, no getting around it, like, you know, so just, you better start thinking about that of yourself in those terms all the time, because everyone else is. And, like, that's how, like, that is your destiny, that is the future, is just you as, like, a white person. And that's it.
And she thinks that's fine.
She uses she thinks it's good. She uses the phrase "fellow whites," which is "hello, fellow whites." Like,
she thinks that's fine
over
because
and over again.
She's imagining that her audience are people who are so fucking comfortable that that thinking of themselves as white can only have positive impact. Whereas in a reality of steadily and declining standards of living for everybody in this country, racial awareness is the last thing people fucking need.
Yeah, historically speaking, elites developing a white identity has not been good for people of color.
No, but like, I mean, I don't know, like going through this book, like I read the introduction and like the first chapter, which is like the broad overview. And then like her second chapter is about white supremacy and sort of like how race is socially constructed. And then the third chapter is about like the evolution of racism and like post-civil rights movement. And broadly speaking, like, she makes the point that like a lot of the way that most white people think of racism in this country is like, well, that happened in the past. Or, it's just like they think of Bull Connor unleashing dogs on people, or like the Ku Klux Klan and things like that. But like regard that, like, the contemporary world is that settled, and like everything is sort of an objective, equal playing field right now, and that bringing it up or being made aware of it is in and of itself racist. Which I guess, like, like individually, I don't think she's wrong in that, like, most people's understanding, I'm just saying, like, most people like, don't know shit about American history in the first place, and, do react, like, poorly when they seem to, like, when they are made to feel, like, implicated in a history of racism or white supremacy in this country.
But her whole thing is, it's like, she's like, well, white liberals have so much trouble talking about racism. Clearly they don't. So they love talking about racism. endlessly. They fucking talk about
Where's that
racism.
sword?
Do you see those
constantly.
libs doing that video? They didn't have to do that. Nobody made them do that.
what?
The lib video, the apology video, all the celebs.
Oh yeah, they
You gotta use it
love
on
that
the pig.
shit. Like
Yeah.
it's
What happened,
clearly
Jared?
like that's just something
where's
they
that
did
sword
because
we
they
can use
were
on the pig?
bored. Like it's almost like
I
a
have better,
hobby
there's
for
better
them.
swords for killing pigs that
I
set
don't
them on
think they're
fire one
particularly like
shot.
smart
No,
about it or
no
doing anything
fires.
productive. But clearly,
fires?
they like
We
talk.
need raw.
White
Well, you don't have
libs
to cook
like
it.
talking about racism and how it's bad.
Ray Reid calls that post racialism. This kind of like condition where, as you say, like white liberals, or I guess liberals of all sorts, sort of set up. I don't know if I would call it a straw man, but they sort of invoke this concept of post-racialism to be like, well, that's not me, and we really need to talk about race. But as you pointed out, they are talking about race all the time. And once again, Robin DiAngelo's paycheck is contingent upon talking about race. So it behooves her to kind of set up the situation where nobody but
Highest
her is
looting?
talking about race.
I don't know what's
So,
the best thing for getting.
like I said, I only read the introduction in the first 3 chapters of this book, but like, where else does this go? Because it just seems to
What's
me
the
like
highest looting we can get on a
the
sword?
book is essentially just the
Question
introduction in
for
the
Justin?
first chapter, where she lays out like, what her
fancy
program
enchantment
is, and you know
Justin,
why
what's
you
the
should
highest
hire
looting
her.
get?
But like, what else is
what?
in this book?
She
What's
gives
the
like
highest
a
looting I can get
list
on a
of
sword?
like things that you as like a good white ally can feel and say when you're told in one of these workshops that you're reproducing racism. Those include gratitude, motivation, excitement, humility, compassion. And then some of
If
the
you
things
put
you
it
can
on
say,
manually, the
when
highest you
you're,
can get is 7.
confronted,
If you get a
by
natural
your
enchant on
racism
it,
is,
the highest you can get
I
is
appreciate
8.
this feedback. This is very helpful. It's my responsibility to resist
Okay.
defensiveness
What
and
are the odds of me
complacency.
getting an 8-1
This is hard, but also
naturally?
Pretty high. It
stimulating
happens
and
almost every
important,
time.
and so on
Yes,
and so
you
forth.
know
If you don't
how
get
people
that,
talk.
yeah. I
Like
mean, it
normal
happens
humans,
quite often.
normal humans, just
It happens every
having
time I
that's how
watch
they
it.
talk.
Not every time, but
feel like you
more
mentioned it
often than
before.
not.
Amber, you brought it up where it's like she gives an example from her own life where she,
There's like
made
a library table
a black
on the
woman
ground
coworker
next
feel
to
or not
the
even coworker,
enchanting
it's not even
table.
define what the relationship is. She
A
made someone
couple
feel
blocks to the
uncomfortable,
right.
and then had to
And
make
that
a sort of
one,
a tone
you
for
can
it before she had
manually
to ask
select
if
what
that
you want
person
on
was
it.
okay with her making
You just
amends
can
for
only
it.
put
And like
on
that whole dialogue, I was
one
trying to
level
put my
less
finger
than
on like what
max
it
on
reminded
that.
me of. And the first thought I
But
had was
the advantage of that
like
is you can put
Data
on
from Star
exactly
Trek,
what
The
you
Next
want.
Generation, trying to like relate to learning a new concept about humanity.
So if
but then I
like,
realized that
basically
was
just
like
want
really
Rudy to kill the
unkind to
pig
Data,
and then, like,
who was way more
maybe,
tactful
like,
and
a
like
damage
aware
thing,
than
like,
this
faster.
person was.
Well,
Right.
Data wasn't trying to sell something.
Data was more human than this woman. She does like talk about how it's wrong to like want basic trust, and she says like whites demand comfort. They think that
I want to do it on a diamond sword.
an essential measure of trust is to be nice.
It's not bad.
And she says, and according to dominant white
better
norms,
sword?
and it's like, is there a different definition of nice? Are there racial definitions? Like, first of all, you
where's-
should be
where's this
nice. I don't know how that's controversial. Like, be nice. It's a it's a bumper. It's a
If
bumper
you, wanted,
sticker.
if you actually wanted to get across an idea to someone you don't know, being nice is a good way to start. The idea that,
Yeah.
well, they should accept the abrasiveness, they should accept confrontation because it's the only way they're going to learn. They haven't learned it yet, though. They have to be butted, and that's where the implicit coercion comes in. Because none of this would make sense if the person could leave the room. It only makes sense if they get fired if they leave the room.
Imagine saying that you would approach any other kind of education in this way, where it's like, you piece of shit.
I mind
Third graders,
one
you're
thing
learning
of
long
ore,
division today.
of diamond ore,
It's not the ideal
and I got
conditions for learning.
7
You know,
blocks of
She's
iron.
telling people to sort of like resist
7
their
diamonds.
basic desire for like
What?
human amity or whatever.
I have, like,
my
14
favorite
eight.
line in the book actually isn't from her. It's from Michael Eric Dyson's
cracked.
intro.
He's gone
where he
too
says this,
powerful.
quote,
I told you,
Robin
the enchantment's the
DiAngelo
way to
is the new
go.
racial sheriff
Well,
in
it
town.
took you flipping long enough.
It did take a long time, and they're not
She is
even max
bringing
level
a
yet.
different law and order to bear.
If you
upon
kill the
racial
Ender Dragon a
community.
bunch of times,
She is dropping
Sam, if
the
you can get me
throwdown
the
gun
Dragon's
of
Breath,
compassion on the
We don't even have to
corpse
kill
of
it.
discrimination.
oh, well, whatever we need to do to get it.
I mean,
But yeah,
that's
it's
it. It's
just-
all
If you can get me a
coercive. The
bunch
idea
more,
is
we can get
everyone
to
has
max
got a
level,
gun
and
to
I don't
their
even
head.
know how high we'll be
And
able
it's
to
all
enchant
like-
stuff.
It's
And
all
then
psycho.
we're all going to treat
yeah,
each other
we're-
nicely.
we're-
Not
our
because we
40
actually
for
feel that
enchanting,
way,
the max is
but because
50.
we're
So, I
afraid
mean,
of the
we're
alternative.
close, but-
And I don't know about you guys, but that
Yeah,
sounds like
go
a
higher.
harmonious social order.
Oh,
That's
come
like
on.
the NRA's idea of a polite society.
I'll load up. I'll give
Yeah.
you some more stuff.
It's all just
Thank
sort
you,
of
Sam.
like
You're the best.
psycho cult shit which
So
I think
I
is
think
all we need to
intended
do
to
is
sort
make
of
pylons.
Why are you yelling
justify
at
the
me,
fact
dude?
that people are
I need
being
a pig killing
subjected
sword.
to something. It's to smash down like
Sure,
basically
you
the
can make it
human
right now with the
instinct,
enchanting stuff we
to
have.
be like,
I
this
don't know
seems
where-
weird.
where I can find the enchanting stuff.
And she says
Where's
at
The
some point,
enchanting
like,
table?
you have to let
It's
go
all
of the
in
messenger
just
and
I'm
focus
not
on
sure
the,
where
on
it
the
is.
message.
It's
an
in our
advanced
main base.
skill, and it's like,
It's like the
well,
only room
some
that's actually done
messengers
on like the bottom
are,
level of it.
full of shit,
it is
and there
on
are
the bottom level,
conflicting
it's actually done.
messages. There's, not one big,
See, spell binding
black
table.
people summit
you
where
enchant
they
this
all
one,
agree
Darren?
on what the
I just want to
correct
enchant
line
the
on
fucking
something
sword.
is. You
Okay,
kind
mine
of
was the
have
one that
to
had mending
actually,
and looting.
the messenger is a
Oh, wait,
very
Justin, do you still
essential
need mending?
part of
Looting.
the whole
No, we have it.
thing. Like,
We pretty
it's
much
just-
have it
it's-
whenever we
it's
want
just
it.
trying to
Okay.
deprogram
'Cause I have two
basic
books.
human
Okay, cool.
behavior.
It doesn't hurt to keep
for what I truly believe is
Yeah,
like
they're
an
over at
insidious
thing.
design
The
Nine.
problem is
TNT
just adding
sort
mending
of
something
employee
isn't like
compliancy
super
and
useful.
complacency.
crap.
And then any,
You know,
and then
like, it
any,
has to be
like,
combined
pushback
with a
to
bunch of
that,
other
she takes as
Mhm,
more
mhm.
evidence of the persistence of white fragility.
But I mean, if you wanna
which,
add the
again,
books
is
into
awfully
the,
convenient for her.
Yeah, I'm not
I'll
mad at
add
my
one of the
job.
two
They're just
into,
awful.
Yeah,
Into,
yeah,
like,
but
the
you mentioned it, but
enchantment
I
inventory,
do have
and
a,
then-
a sneaking suspicion.
That way we
like,
have it.
I
Where's
worry
the
that
I
I think
the
we already
overall
we might have
purpose
one or
of
two already
things
stored,
like,
but
as
that's what
best
we're gonna have to
embodied by
keep
this
up.
woman. in
Although
this
you have to
book,
ask Justin how it
like
works.
serves sort of two
What?
functions, at least as far as
So
a
how do I get
professional
the
role
highest?
goes, which is like one
The
is
highest.
to justify the need for more,
It's
counseling,
default setup. You can
sessions
put
like
anything
this.
in.
And the other, I
So
think,
do I
like,
just
well,
put
what
it
are the
as random? I
people
just
who
put it
hire
in,
her get out of
put the
it?
sword
It
in.
These
yeah,
corporations.
put it in, put the
And I
sword
think,
in. It'll
like,
tell
the
you
really insidious
everything
things
it's gonna
about
have on
that
it.
is, like, a very covert
Seven,
form of
life
like
mending, 3,
union
bane of
busting
villagers,
and kind of like
I mean, I have it maxed, so
anti-solidarity
it
in a
tells
way.
you
It's
exactly
just
what's going to
sort
be
of
on it.
let's
Curse of
do
vanishing.
let's
Is that good?
sort of
Is
like
that-
make
is
all
that
our
bad?
Curse of
employees
vanishing
hyper
makes things
aware as
disappear. You
possible
do
of
not
these, like,
want that.
It disappears
sort of,
if it ever
this
breaks.
racial
it
anxiety and
disappears.
paranoia, so that they're like they never feel like they're part of a kind of a shared
sword
struggle or
disappears?
like a mission, which
Yeah.
would be actual like anti-racist.
Actually, I don't know what it does. Yeah,
practices,
maybe it just
investing
deletes
people
it
in
if
a
you ever drop
shared
it.
No,
struggle that you
it doesn't
work
delete it.
towards
It
together
literally
to better
makes
everyone's
the
life.
mobs
Because, like,
di-
that when you're
disappear,
invested in
it
that,
turns
in,
them
like, in
invisible.
something like that, I think that is what does do the work that this person is supposedly trying to sell you on, which is like, you know,
How do I
I don't know,
remove
realizing a
this? It
common
sounds bad.
humanity or like dissolving those differences rather than making
gave
people
you a
sort of
sword that has, like,
hyper aware and
looting
like I
5
said,
on it.
instilling a kind of
Oh, hold on.
constant paranoia about it. Not just
Never
for white
mind.
people.
Oh,
but I would imagine
Justin was right.
if
It
you are
just-
one of the
so if you
3
die with
black
it, it
employees
goes
that she
bye-bye
mentions
forever.
in these companies, I mean, like I would imagine like
Okay.
after one of these things, like you're not exactly going to feel totally
before.
like
Oh, so it's if you
warm and,
die.
you know,
Okay.
When you know the
you're
one.
not going to feel
What is
exactly
being a villager's X?
completely at ease with
You do
your
more
white
damage to
coworkers.
There's a
villagers.
mob called
Line up to
villagers.
fucking, like,
You do more
ask,
damage
do a
to
wellness
villagers.
check on you after
I want
lunch.
this one then.
And like say how racist they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Holy crap.
The author seems
What?
to not recognize what her actual job is. As someone
fuck just
who,
happened?
goes to Fortune 500 companies to insulate them from legal liability
know.
when an employee does the Chris Rock routine. She keeps saying things like, in her
You've been
anecdotes,
the Bane.
framing them as, this company brought me in
know.
to foster diversity.
Spawn.
And it's like that. No, they didn't do that. That's never happened.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Why
didn't
She
you
never
make
uses words like
noises,
hired
Justin?
or fired.
We have all this technology.
She never uses
Why are these
like
doors not open when I
boss,
walk through?
employee. She avoids that completely, and I can't tell.
That's not my
So why
She
department.
do
might
we
be
even
right.
have
Like the
doors
whole
anymore?
time, I'm like, oh,
Bob's
she's
can't
trying to
even spawn
obfuscate
there.
this, but she's so weird and doesn't know how to talk to people that she might not know
Fucking
what
get
her
rid of
job
the doors.
is.
And
But,
she's been an academic her
Really
entire
does.
life.
yeah, so her job is fake.
Did any of you, or which
Like-
of you got the section where she's talking about like white women
All right,
crying
Justin,
and she's
where are
like,
you?
I was
got
just
my
gonna
list.
I'm in the end.
Okay,
What's
she's
up?
like,
I got my
She's
list
like,
here.
Are you
she's
close
like,
to home?
when I
Am I
need
what?
to cry, I do
Are you
it
close to
quietly,
home?
and I go in a corner and I don't let anyone console me.
Close
It's like,
stone?
holy shit.
Close
Also,
to
by the
home.
way- yeah,
To
No.
home,
she
the
literally
base. How
says,
close
like,
to you to the base?
White
What's the
women
base now?
don't cry. But also she says, look, I make
Why
women
would he
cry
have
a lot.
Flower that makes mobs
But
want
they
to
shouldn't
hit
do
within a
that. And it's
certain
like,
area.
I just feel like maybe you're doing.
Oh no, I
a
can't. man.
God,
Yeah,
you're
I just
making
found
me
a
cry.
Don't think
There's no
that's
crying in race
something we
ball,
can do.
okay?
Yes. Oh,
So I
very
would love it
good.
if I could just one hit
She
these pigs.
says that it's actually killing black people when white women cry. Like,
Oh,
and then
what's
she
that?
brings up
I'm at
Emmett
the
Till.
base.
Like, you are literally putting black people's lives in danger, which actually indicts her because she is making
hold
them
on.
cry.
You
So
want
it's like,
context?
bitch, you are
Hey,
killing black people. Stop making white women cry.
We have
It's
guests here,
dangerous.
right?
I mean, the white women are just like a single gun. You're like the NRA, for fuck's sake.
It's a controlled demolition.
I think we can make
is the
Voodoo
way
with
she would
the...
Well, okay, but I wanted to talk, just go back real quick. We should
How
we'll
much
talk more
Dragon's
about white
Breath
women's
do you
tears, 'cause
want,
this fiction
Justin?
is insane. But
Can we
Will
make
mentioned,
Yeah, I mean like 10 bottles.
Sowing paranoia.
10 bottles?
It's
Okay.
just like a constant thing
You can make it?
in this book over and over again.
Going
Not just where you're being,
going
like,
to
surveilled
spawn
and
another
moderated.
Ender Dragon.
But also she creates like this
MVP.
like ghost
Thank
Are you spawning another dragon?
POC
So
that
we can get
can
Justin
see
Spawn in
deep
Dragon's
into your
Breath.
subconscious
Spawn in
and
over
see all
already.
your badness. She says like
Can only spawn in the nether.
you have
That's
racist
just called
patterns.
God,
the end.
Amber.
Come to
You
your
have
enchanting
that's called
area.
Black Jesus. You have
Oh,
racist patterns, and
over
POC
base.
know you have them, which is like this weird
I think I
combo
only
of
need
like
one.
white liberal narcissism, where you flatter yourself by like
Everyone's
imagining.
thinking of you at all the
yeah,
time.
and POC are just thinking about you all the time. They have no
Oh,
internal lives outside of
man.
racism, and then
Okay,
also kind
amplify
of like this
spell
weird kind of
2.
mystical belief
Let's see,
in
where's
like
amplify
that, like
spell?
melanin makes
911,
people clairvoyant or something.
Ready?
Like
Okay.
it's like a very weird like they're
Boom, the
thinking
entire
of
chest is
So
gone.
it does make you feel like not only are you being
913.
surveilled by your boss, but by all the POC, by the POC
It
hive mind. who
Wait, you can
can
get
read
looting
your
900?
thought.
Yeah, because a panopticon is the
can we
only way to
move this
enforce
without
this thing.
bad
If
things
everyone is
happening?
always under
Move what?
surveillance,
Yeah, we
everyone
can pick
always
the-
be
that
judged
block up.
and ticketed for racial
do you just wanna go
transgressions,
plug it into
they will
the what
never
you call it?
transgress. But of course,
Yeah,
they'll
you-
also
yeah, you
change
should.
the
Get
view.
looting 900?
But
Is that
that's
what you're
because
telling me?
these people don't think that's possible.
Just make
they don't think
make
those
sure
things
we break it
emerge
with
from
silk touch.
Nobody answers.
malleable
And I actually don't have
and
silk touch
changeable,
anymore.
That's what we're talking about.
systems
What's
of
your question?
systematic and
What are you trying to
structural
break?
oppression.
Looting
I mean,
900, is that what
Amazon
you're
has an
saying?
I mean,
algorithm
I'll just
for
enchant
detecting
new
which
one.
of their
Hold
Whole
on, hold
Foods
on. What are you trying to
locations is
break?
most likely to be a potential
Yeah, I got it.
labor
Can I
trouble
get looting
spot.
900?
And
This block.
one of the things that they
Dustin,
look for
what's max
is
looting,
lack of
Jared?
diversity.
I don't know. The max. I
Because the
told
less
you already,
diver-
Jared.
less
The max we
diversity
have
on
right now is
900
8.
can be a dividing
But you just said
tactic by
900.
management. They can
Seth said 900 about a totally different
It looks like they're
Okay, and I
talking
asked,
too
does that
much
mean I can get 900
with
looting?
each other about
Yeah,
You
I
have
mean,
something with
we-
silk
It's
touch,
like, oh,
Right.
you guys really want to,
Justin?
Yeah, I
guys
hit
think
it.
you
I have it.
You guys want to organize together, even with this
I'm
You want me to
Karen
put it over there, Seth?
against us, who care about race.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna have to
maybe do the
reconfigure
mandatory
the pipes a little bit,
racial
'cause of the
awareness
diamonds
seminar.
and stuff that
You,
are also
you're
being
gonna let
part
all
of the
these
crash
Karens dictate what should be going on here just because they want to form a union?
Yeah, well, and also like in this
If you guys need
situation,
me, I'll be
diversity
in
is
you.
very euphemistic. What I bet a lot of what they're talking about is things like language barriers.
Yeah, but
Like
anything
that-
that can be used, anything can be used as a lever, as a wedge.
Yeah.
And because they control the way that they
I wish
control
I
what,
could
the,
turn it
what the
off.
racial policy and politics and the atmosphere are through their human relations, human resources department, so that they could basically like stoke at their discretion whenever they want people to get really tense about race.
Wait, is
Their
there a
own
backpack
answer.
upgrade where you can
So we've learned
increase
that
how many stacks
that
of
white
items
women
you
should
carry?
Yeah.
absolutely not
But I have.
cry, and if they do cry, there should be some sort of crying pod, perhaps.
And you can have one that
provided by the
compacts,
employer, like,
which
sort of
is
like those,
even better.
Sort of like those
What do you mean?
breastfeeding shacks that they have at
So, like,
airports
if
now.
you
They
have-
should have one of those for
Like,
those
let's
for
say you're
white women's
mining dirt,
tiers in every workplace.
instead of
and
just start
home.
filling up your
And
inventory
quite
with
frankly,
dirt,
you know,
it turns
I'm okay with
dirt
that.
into
I'm
compressed
sick-
dirt,
I'm sick of
compressed
these
dirt
bras
into
and their
2x
emotions.
compressed,
To keep that
2x
away
into
from me, ladies.
3x
I'm
compressed.
imagining.
So you can pretty much, if you're just mining one
is
thing,
like the
you'll
end
never
of
fill up your
Terminator
inventory.
2, where they
Especially if you have the
slowly
quadruple
lower
stacks where
white
you can have,
fragility
like,
into like a molten
800 of
blast
any one
furnace, and then
stack
she goes,
item.
Now I
Yeah,
know
what's
why
that
you
thing?
cry,
What's
but it's
multiple
something
That's
I
good.
could never do
Yeah,
as a
so
white
the-
woman. Or something
One's
I should never
called
do as a white woman.
Stack upgrade tier.
It goes
So-
underneath the lava.
And then the
other
other one
It lies under
is
the lava,
advanced
so you can't
compact
see it.
Literally
upgrade.
kills
You put
black
them together,
people.
and it's
So what about
insane.
like the middle chunk of the book?
And it works in this
Matt
backpack that I have
version.
right now.
What did you learn? From,
I think the
your
one Seth
section
made
of
you. I don't know
the
which one he made you.
I learned that white frailty is a
Hey, where's your
varied.
thing?
I have it right
It's-
here in my hand.
It's a land of
Where you
contrast.
want it?
Basically, anything can be white frailty.
You want it on this block?
It's amazing. All interactions
On that
are
block?
infused with it. It cannot be divorced from any behavior. It's inherent and instinctual at this point in all white people, and that it can only be neutralized in a moment
Okay.
through basically
Insert
a
only.
full mental concentration on race.
Lower priorities
Every
first.
and the
means
entire
what?
history of
But
race
that's extra
in
priority.
America every
Insert
time you
priority. Higher
encounter
priorities first,
a
okay?
black person, because it is about,
I want
as Amber says, it's
whitelist
not really
mode,
about
but
minorities
I just
or any kind of like racial
enchanted and it
version
will do hall
specifically about black
enchantments?
people.
How much
and
netherite do we have?
and that
I believe
the
so.
only way to interact
one's
with the black
like
people in your
7
life who
blocks
are
of netherite.
implied but never stated outright, all coworkers or employees in her imagining,
Hey, Justin,
is
do you have
to
a
just
random enchanted
have a
book?
forehead
Like a
throbbing
trash one?
at every moment
forgot
to
to-
remember the entire history of racial oppression in this country. And you're
There's a bunch
specific
over at my farm I can give you.
beneficiary.
So that's
The fact that you're a beneficiary of it. There is the
If you
thing
want
that I
something
found
that's
most
trash.
interesting though
Why
is
is
that
it saying I could do
she
it?
keeps things so elastic
Oh,
in
no,
that
I'm
in that way
missing
that like horoscopes are elastic, so that everything in your life can be filtered through it and found to be descriptive of it because
Well, maybe it's a
it's
good
so
thing at
broad
the
a
end.
brush. At one point,
think
she's
that'll be interesting.
talking
here's
about
that.
the
You wanna-
need for
you wanna
white
see this
people
thing
to
up here?
acknowledge their privilege and how white people resist acknowledging their privilege because
No,
they don't
hold on, I'm in the
imagine
middle of
themselves to
something.
have privilege.
Where'd you put the table?
Well, doesn't
and
that
that
upgrade
they
increase
but
so much
that's not
experience you
true,
can store too?
and then
Is
she
John here?
rejects the idea that privilege is something that white people have but aren't aware of. She says, "No, you are aware of it." She says she quotes some other race theorist as saying that
Justin?
white people saying that they're unaware of
Shit,
racism.
I'm muted. Sorry.
Or of their
You're good.
privilege.
There
It's like
is
if someone
a-
walked by
all
them
you
and
guys.
just stuffed money into
There
their
is
pockets.
a
They
mending
wouldn't be
book
able to notice that.
in one of your chests.
Thank you.
Now back to what I was doing. Getting Justin more. You said 10 bottles?
Yeah.
Okay.
That you want the book here? I have the book.
Is it working?
Wait, you want me to
Hold
throw one in?
No, I'm trying to count them, so I need to check. Quick charge is at 32. Quick
Yeah, it
charge is
works.
at
It
33.
worked.
Okay, that's working. Yeah, so the problem is with these pipey things.
Uh-huh.
I tried to do whitelist with a book, and for some of them you can have it ignore attributes. So like that's what's working with the guy that I had here. So this is just doing what it's a blacklist now. So it's ignoring diamonds, which I think is like the only drop. But if they drop anything else, it might get clogged. So we might have to look out for that. Let's see. Diamond.
Yay.
Yeah, I just need to go double check really quickly what the drops are from that mob.
Oh, and honestly, for swords, Jared, the life mending's better.
You guys keep saying the life bending's better.
It's better for armor and swords. Because it doesn't really work with the pickaxe because you have to like be healing and then pull out your pickaxe. Like normally if you're taking damage, you have the sword out and you always have the armor on, and the armor always sucks it up.
I have good news, Justin.
Got
It's
it.
been respawned.
MVP.
Yeah, does that mean you're gonna kill it, or are you just gonna stand in there and gather Dragon's Breath for like an hour?
Yeah, I'm actually just gonna go get some more. I'm gonna fill up my inventory.
Who dat?
Yosef or Nate?
Not Nate.
It's never Nate. Never was.
Well, the nice thing is, Justin, we can kill the end dragon by flying after it.
Wait, no, let it do a lot more breath. I want to pick a lot more up soon.
Oh, I'll let it. I'll let it do its thing. Right now, I'm killing the crystals.
Smizzy was the only other person online when I logged in.
Dang.
Have you guys ever used the Domino's mobile app?
Nope.
You should open Papa John's and Domino's mobile apps and just put them side by side. One looks like it was made 10 years ago. The
Wait,
other
which
looks
one's
like
the
it's
bad
getting
one? Domino's is the
updated
bad
every
one?
single day. Just open them. Open Papa John's, open Domino's. One looks like an app that you can make right now. The other looks like a professional team put it together.
Ow.
Oh my god, my ears.
All right, Justin, I have 10 bottles for you.
Hey, Justin, it's working.
Nice.
I just watched Bane of Arthropods go from 40 to like 60 something.
Oh my god.
Did I break the game? Do I win?
That is kind of broken.
Also, it's already done like 140 diamonds just in like the 20 seconds that I unplugged it. So that means it's been throwing out like
Let it do its fire.
diamonds.
Oh, okay, here it is.
How much do you have, Justin?
Where you guys at? Where's stuff at?
I have 41.
Okay, I have 10.
Where's stuff at?
Oh, we have to kill
What?
it though.
Where you at?
In my room.
Where's that?
Where's what at? Do you want the diamonds? Wait, no. What's the
Sam,
question?
let me go. I'm gonna go get more glass
Question I've
bottles.
asked 3 times. Where are you at?
I have 11 on me.
I was at the mob spawner. Why?
I can't go back in.
Still haven't answered the question.
What is that? Are you looking for the diamonds?
No, I said, where are you at?
Yeah, the mob spawner. Why?
I said you were at the mob spawner.
Joke.
You were not at the mob spawner.
That's where I am. I'm right behind you.
False.
What?
All right, Justin, I'm waiting in here.
What is this for?
Where's the fire breath? Fire breath. You know me, bitch. Well, this dragon's a little laggy.
I think this one's broke.
The
too.
server's a little laggy.
Wait, it says I can't support it? Is that what happened to yours?
Nope.
I have Ender air bottles now.
Yeah, it's for Botania. I don't know what it does. Oh, Thunder Caller. Ow.
Last two chose. It's
Yay!
glitched
Good
for
job,
me,
Sam.
Jared.
Belgium's glitch.
No, I can't even equip it.
Hey, did you suck up all the experience?
You already have one equipped?
I had one. I
Did
took
I? I
mine
don't
out.
know.
Oh.
I'm 250.
Never mind. It's blown up now.
GG. Oh, Sam.
Yay, level 15.
I have a nin. I locked him in here.
You have a binky?
Yeah.
I have a
Gotta
pupper.
get this the thing back though too. Egg.
Good. Oh, the egg? I have a piston on me.
He said that last time too, Justin. Remember that?
Did say that. The second time I heard that this play.
Well, I have a pickaxe this time.
You guys all have
Which
the
is
automatic
an ins-
food eating thing. You should do it
Yeah,
automatic.
that one's fucking awesome too. That's the best one.
Because that's what I'm making all. I'm making
I
all
just
this
stack
food,
like
but-
500 pork chops, and I just don't even worry about
No,
it.
what the fuck? Stop eating pork chops, motherfucker. Eat the shit that I put in fucking bin.
I got the pics.
Okay, your boy is back.
What'd you say?
Ow!
Insane comparison.
Jared, your thing
Because
is omega
otherwise she
broken.
stresses that these things, that these notions of white superiority are embedded from like childhood, and people get them by age
told you it was
3.
broken, dude.
And yet she then, at the same, in the same breath, says, "No, you should
No,
be
like, I
hyper
can't
aware
even
of them at all
equip it.
moment. And if you aren't, it's because you're you
Wow,
are
the one
being
just broke,
selfish
too. I
and
don't
you're
know
being
if-
There you go,
racist.
Justin.
Even though
Or
by
something
her
at the same
own
time, but the other
architecture,
way-
Wait, do I need a
these things
stack
are, like,
multiplier to be
deeply
able to
embedded
use this?
psychological concepts. But in her mind, it's as obvious as someone literally putting money in your
It's
pocket.
like stuck at
Which
like
does not make sense at
39
all.
out of 40,000
It's what it
experience.
is
Like,
in the
whenever I put in
moment
a
that
thing, it's just
justifies,
between 39 and
like
40,000
you said,
experience. You can't do anything.
reading.
Oh
the
my
book
God,
and going
Jared,
to
I
the
needed a
seminars
stack multiplier
and,
to
and
equip it.
Okay,
wait,
using
what am I
the
supposed to be doing with
nootropics
this?
that I'm sure
I don't know, try
anti-racism
with experience.
nootropics she's going to start selling. I would not be surprised if she started selling anti-racism nootropics off this shit. Like my
Do you
new
want the
stack
experience, or
will
can I throw it in the trash?
reduce the racism
shit.
lobe in your brain by 20% and increase your anti-racist folds in your
If you
cerebral.
can, that means my palms
Well,
broke.
you know what I think it's going to end up being, and I wait for it because I want to see the Vegas odds on this. In order, I mean, right now this is like Scientology, where you abuse people into saying that they're bad, and then they come out compliant, and you can do whatever you want with them. But what I think she's going to do is sell racist training workshops, where it's like yoga in America is not lucrative. But you know what is
Can I make bowls
like
out of ball
lucrative? It's
blocks?
not lucrative to be a yoga teacher unless you're like you have like a personal client that pays you $500
Oh,
a
you
session.
know what we need,
What
Sam?
is
What?
lucrative?
We need dragons' heads.
Schools to teach yoga t-shirts. So I think
Hey, where's
she
that-
is probably
where's that fancy
going
sword?
to branch out.
Do we
from
have
this
one dragon
by
head?
training more anti-racist
I
trainers
don't
and make it a
think so.
full multi-level marketing scheme.
There's still going to be
Multi-level
some-
Let me see. I'll tell you how many we need. We
MLM is a
need.
good model.
Fix it.
I like to think that
We
her
only need
next
one. We
move
need one dragon head, I
is,
think.
To sell
And there's a backpack with a
DVDs
tank and a stack upgrade
where,
that is empty.
you know, you
So,
do the
uh,
anti-racism moves at home
Seth
while
has your
watching.
where's the enchantment table?
Yeah, it's over at
and
his
something
farm
like an
thing.
anti-racism
Nope. Okay,
Bowflex,
is that how I get the-
I'm
the
kind of
fancy-
picturing as
all the
Yeah,
crash
fancy
test
you
dummy
literally can
that's
just
like a
has
person
the list of
color
every
that,
enchantment we've
you know,
unlocked, or
and
every
you
enchantment
put
book
in
we
the
put into
DVD
it yet.
and you follow along
not
with
mine.
your crash test
Is it
dummy.
in your backpack?
I'm
Figuring
gonna
out how
fly
to talk
over
to
there.
them.
I'm gonna see
How to
if
use
I
human
can't
language.
get,
Yeah. MLM is a good model too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I
I'll
mean,
do
that's
that.
all that's left.
Plus, I had
Everyone's
to make a
selling each
backpack
other
to empty it.
MLMs. That's it. That's the only growth energy in the economy now.
You know, Amber, like, and sort of the brilliant thing is that, like,
Well,
even
no,
in
you
her
have a second
own
backpack.
writing
I'm
sort
gonna
of
take some
acknowledges,
experience.
like, doing these
Wait, you
things
just have
also
multiple
actually
backpacks?
does perpetuate
Yep.
racism and white fragility, even
You
in
can just,
like
like, store
being aware
tons of
or
shit.
talking about them. So it's
Oh
like
my
a
God,
totally
is it
vertically
working,
integrated
Justin?
system,
Yeah.
where it's like you create the racism
I
in America.
think so.
First, you create the racism.
So yeah,
Then
it's
you
definitely
get
coming
the
up.
racism. Then you
Yeah.
get the money. Then you
I
get
told
the
you to
power.
do this a
What
while
is
ago.
that? Not
Yeah.
synergy. The
Vertical
thing.
Hey, how do I pull out an
Vertical
experience?
integration. Yes,
Yeah.
she's making people more racist, so they have to buy their.
What? You don't pull out
anti-racism
oh,
shit.
you it's on his
Yeah.
thing.
Genius.
She's a
We
genius.
honestly, we have no choice
We have
but to stand.
yeah.
An entrepreneurial
How much do you
legend.
need,
Yeah.
Sam?
Well, Virgil, were any
I
anything
have it
from your
going.
section of note? Yeah, there were a few interesting things. Some of which we already talked about because you know she peppers.
You need to hit it on the shower head.
Her text and the text is
Oh.
very slim with these anecdotes about doing the workshop and
Yes,
people
stop
being
it.
indignant about it, which I thought was just my section, but apparently just the whole book is like this.
Yo, don't go crazy with
You know,
it.
if she had taken a single screenwriting class,
I've never
she'd
seen
know
it. I set it
this
up
is
to
where the rising action should
260
be.
something.
Chapters 7 through 9.
No, I've seen you
Uh,
120,
But yeah,
500.
I
I've
just
seen
can't get
you.
over the fact that she's not
Where's
making
the
this
table?
connection.
Yeah, I
that
use my thing. I'm gonna get my money's
everyone she
worth.
talks to is like fuck off.
Come eat this
They're
XP, Sam.
attending these paid mandatory
I'm
services.
85.
It's like that line that, you know,
Get it. Don't
everyone you
waste
meet
it.
is
Wait,
an
yeah,
asshole,
keep
but
going
because
until
they're
the
the
time
asshole.
runs out.
Yeah.
It's on
And
256x.
She can't grok the idea that you might be indignant about getting written up.
What level are you now?
Joey was
racism
right. I
and
never
that,
should have
you know,
shown
why
Justin how to
wouldn't
do
you be
it.
indignant? It's
Why?
literally a punishment having to
I'm
talk to this
150.
person.
Oh my god.
This is
It's
an
still going.
punishment.
Okay, now it's done.
Precisely what someone says
167?
when they are
What
punishing.
level are you, Justin?
Yep.
I'm
Rachel,
278.
good.
Good job.
You gotta stay in your room all
What level's
afternoon.
Jared?
It's not
Okay,
a
so there's two
He's
interesting
for
things
something.
in my section. First, I
I'm
just
level
Where's the table
45.
thingy?
paragraph, which is funny.
That used like 2 million
Capital can
buckets.
shift with the field. For example,
Do I want
when
to
the
put
custodian-
my
well, this is in the context
my
of
weapon
this mangled
in the
discussion of
enchantment
origin.
table or
capital
the
can shift with
fun?
the field. For example, when the custodian comes
The other thing.
upstairs,
So,
to
okay,
speak
depends
to
which
the
one to do.
receptionist, the custodian work clothes.
If you want to kind of have a more,
business
you can
attire,
see exactly what goes
the
on it
office
if you
worker
put
has
an
more
enchantment
capital and
table,
does the maintenance.
but it's
So
random. You can't
when the
decide.
receptionist
If you want to
goes
literally
down,
pick
that's
the
in
enchantments,
quotation marks, works.
Come over
to
here,
the
Sam.
Supply room,
Yeah.
which the custodian controls.
Inside
to
here.
request more whiteboard markers. Those power lines
Inside this
shift
enchanted
to the
library,
domain of the custodian.
You literally
You
can just
fulfill the
keep
request
just
quickly
clicking,
or
and it'll
make
build a book
transaction difficult.
with whatever
The
you
domain
put
of
on
the
it.
custodian is a level 40
want me to turn
dungeon.
the thing
Not
off?
go in.
No, it's fine. It's fine
You
with
have
it on.
multiple healing spells.
Oh,
and a
I guess I
resurrection.
got a book of
But
looting.
yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna put it
like-
back in.
I guess in this.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. If you
genre,
mess it up,
a
just
lot
throw
of
it right
is
back
just
in.
kind of
But
bad
Yeah,
yeah,
reasons for forgery.
and
I'm
you
gonna-
can add
her-
stacks to
in
it, so
her
you can get up to like
mind,
max
common
looting,
sense
get
is
up
a
to max
kind of,
everything.
racial
How do I
equilibrium.
add stacks?
And when
Is it
it's
Just keep
fulfilled
clicking.
by a person of color asserting their
It
humanity,
tells if you
or
hover
a,
over it, it tells you like what stack you're at, and then like how many more you can
klaxons go
do.
off, and a white fragility happens.
Bane of
and
Arthropods
maintenance
is already up
droids
to
are summoned
130
to
Yeah.
repair the
I think the Illager is up to like 3,000 or something.
definition of white
I think I
fragility
broke
that
the game a
appears
little
in my
bit.
Chapter.
Level
Okay,
7
I
might
have
be pretty good.
This long anecdote that
Where's
I
our,
think you'll all
where's our
enjoy.
sharpness
This comes
5,000
from
sword?
Chapter
can I do
9.
looting?
Ooh, I have
White
sharpness
fragility
8.
action.
now?
So this is the climax. This is where the action happens. This is like the big chase
What?
sequence.
Okay, there's two
I was
numbers.
leading a
One is
community workshop.
tier. That's
Because
what you're
the
talking
employer
about.
had not
The other one is just like
sponsored it,
count
the
of
participants had all
enchantments. So when we say
voluntarily signed up
3,000,
and paid a
that is
fee to
count
attend.
of
For
enchantments.
this reason, we could assume that they were
Count
open
of
and interested in the content.
Because that's
We
how
could
many
also
you
assume
can
that
pull
they're
out,
complete sociopaths.
right? Like to be
Freaks.
to get
Well,
a
it's
tier,
it technically
whatever,
like you
speed.
lose them. It's kind of
When a woman
balanced because
I will
like the
refer
higher
to
level,
as
like if you
evil
pull out sharpness
stated that
5
because
or
she grew up in
sharpness like
Germany,
8,
where there, she said
it
there
takes
were no black
extra
people,
stacks of the
false, by the way.
sharpness.
She had
Does it- it
learned
takes
nothing
more
about
than
race
8,
and
right?
held no
It's
Yeah,
race.
it takes a lot more than
I
8
pushed
because I
back
think
on this
like
thing by asking her to reflect on the
the
messages
first
she had
couple is like
received from her
only
childhood
like might
about
double every
people
time, and then like once it gets like high, like taking out the max level enchant is like 30 or 40 levels.
So if I want this, do I just go put stuff in the,
whether she had
in an anvil?
relationships with
Yeah,
African-Americans
yeah, just
here,
make the book
Awesome.
exactly how you want it, and then throw it on the item in the anvil.
Already done.
She was furious. And
do that more
said
than
that she
once,
had been
though?
deeply offended by our exchange and did not. quote,
So
feel seen.
it's
You made
so
assumptions about me,
certain.
she said.
None of
I
the
apologized,
books
and I told her I would never
that
want
you
her to
get
feel
out
unseen
of
or
that,
invalidated.
out of the
However,
enchanted
I also had
library,
my
can do
challenge
that.
growing up
But
in
there's
Germany
certain,
helped recruit
if you
her from
enchant
joining
books at
problematic
the crafting
domestic.
table,
She countered
there's
by
certain
telling me that she
books
had never
that
even
will
seen
have
a
the
black
perk
person
of
before the
1
American
extra
soldiers.
enchant
And when
ability.
they did come, all the German
So you
women
could,
thought they-
in
thought they were so
theory,
beautiful that they wanted
Wait,
to
what's
connect with
the
them.
what's the
That was
one
her
extra
evidence that
enchant?
she
Is
held
that
no
something that we
racism.
have
With
in
an
there?
internal side of
You
defeat, I
can't
gave
get
up at that
stacks
point
of
and
it.
repeated my
It doesn't
apology.
work. It's like
We
it's
parted ways,
per
but her
book
anger was
specific.
unabated. A few
And it's
months
not
later,
every book.
one of
It's
my
just it's a
co-facilitators
significant amount of the
contacted
books.
Ava
It'll
to
say
tell her
like
about
plus
upcoming
1
work.
enchant
Ava was
or something
apparently
like that.
still angry. She replied
And then
that
you
she would
can
never again
enchant
attend
twice
a
pretty much.
workshop by me.
So you, I don't know. You can enchant 2 books. I haven't
So
tried it yet, but I guess you could
just
enchant
wanna
2 books
pause there and
together,
ask,
or
how many
maybe
white
an item
fragility
twice. I don't
workshops
know.
Is this person attending just on a monthly basis?
Yeah, this
Which
is-
that might be.
this is
You
like
might be able to get up to
people
like
that just spend their
16,
money
and then
on
imagine if
free
that shit
classes, and it's
stacks,
like, you're not
and you
getting
could
on
just
SNL.
that
It's not
maybe
gonna happen.
that's something to try,
It is
Jared.
kind of like an improv class.
Well, I
isn't
don't
it?
know
I
if
mean,
you do
there are
sharpness 8
games,
and sharpness 8 again.
structure to
Yeah,
it.
give me a.
I
I
feel like
think
it's
it
merged.
would. I don't see why not, because especially with the gems, you can
But
go
on the
way
flip side of
over.
that, if you're sending out these
The gems
promotions
do
to
add
people who
extra
have already
levels.
attended the White
Yeah.
Agility Workshop, aren't you admitting the
Especially
workshop
those
doesn't
Ender
work?
Surge ones. Can you
It has to
imagine
be
doing
constantly
like
reinforced.
Oh
armor
my
set
God.
with
It's
6
not like
Ender
there's
Surge
new
gems or something
scientific
like that?
developments in the field of white fragility.
The Ender Surge
that's
gems,
like,
John,
you know,
add
common.
one
It's like
to
80% new
all
content.
levels that you have.
See, but that's just it because it has to be reinforced because you have these ingrained things that are
I
beyond
think any item you
conscious,
have
and they
equipped.
have to be.
Okay, well...
Is it any-
the
I thought it was just that
Dragon is
item.
gonna get
You have to keep
shredded.
If it's
That's
any
why I
item?
think she's eventually gonna.
Oh my
get a
God, if it's
nootropic
any item.
Because what if you're on the go and you don't have time? You want
Then Jared might be
You
close.
can't go to a
Understand
monthly
the
session.
number of
You know, just pop a
enchants.
pill every day, and you'll have the
That's the
same
number of different
anti-racism,
enchantments you can put on.
anti-racist antioxidants going through your
No,
system.
number of
Oh, yeah.
enchantments
I
like
just wanted
count
to finish
that we
out
have.
this.
This thing does 18 and a half damage now.
Like that's how many charges of that thing we have, like stored in the enchantment inventory.
Books to store their charges.
Feelings singled out.
Does that make sense?
Silenced, shamed, guilty, accused, insulted, judged,
Justice.
angry,
With the
scared.
men enchantment,
Take a look
we
at
don't
that.
need multiple.
When we have these feelings, it has come to behave
Wait, Taylor,
in the
oh, you
following
gave it to me?
ways as Abraham.
Yeah, the hammer.
Lies and chance
Physically
without
Hammer.
emotionally withdrawn, arguing, denying, focusing on intentions, seeking absolution, avoid it.
Oh my gosh,
No
it doesn't even fit on the screen.
Yeah, there's
Thunderstruck
I was
Soul
going to say the
Keeper.
woman managerial.
I've had that for a while.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Sam, that's good.
I guess
Listen
just
to
like,
what John's
I mean, like
saying.
really, like just to echo
What?
what you
Sorry.
said, Virgil. Like there,
So the mana enchanter will take an item, take a book, apply the enchantment, but not consume the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what Sam was. That's originally
We
how
don't
we
need
do.
multiple copies of enchantments, right? For the most part.
The only enchantment we need multiple copies of is Mending. We don't ever use the last copy of Mending. Because I guess in theory... So Sam, you could just keep copying Mending over and over?
Wait, couldn't Sam have just copied that book that he made instead of actually using it? Like, we could have done the mana.
No, I don't think it works
No.
that way. I think it has to apply to an item.
Oh, it has
Yes,
to apply
so-
it? Okay.
So the nice thing about the enchantment library is we can pull out the highest enchantment.
The second highest
put it on a
enchantment.
book.
But yeah. Because you
Can't
can
pull the highest now.
You can
Okay.
pull one under the highest,
Okay, so
which is still
one
good.
under the highest. We can use the mana enchanter and just keep that book. So honestly, keep that going. Like we have one mending book. That's all we need. Because with the mana enchanter, we can put as many enchantments on an item if it goes on that specific item.
Oh, so we just enchant a book, take that book,
Mhm.
add Mending to it,
We can add mending.
and then we have two. Okay, we
Wait,
just that's
the-
how we do
Enchant
Mending.
No.
mana enchanter as many times as you want.
Hold on. So, in order to use the mana enchanter, you need an unenchanted item.
There's a part
Yes.
in
So no enchantment.
introduction. in the book.
Yes,
And
unenchanted.
it underscores
So you have
this
to do
idea of,
everything
like,
in one
she's,
shot.
She's routinely shocked and taken
So
aback
everything you
just how-
want,
just
you'll
how
need to
often
put on
people really don't like
around the
attending
mana
her
enchanter.
seminars or talking to her.
Okay, what's the
And she
benefit
says
of
here the
that? It
very
just doesn't
idea
consume
that
the
they would
book,
be
but we have
required to
Yes.
attend a workshop
Okay,
on
but we have
racism and
infinite of the
outrage
stuff
her.
from the book
They
from
entered the
Justin's
room
table
angry
anyway, so what's
and
the
made that
difference?
feeling clear to us throughout the day as they slammed their
At this
notebooks
point, I
around
don't
the
give a shit.
table,
Do what you
refused
want.
to participate in
No, I just,
exercises,
like,
and
genuinely,
argued
other
against
than
any
mending,
and
which
all
we're
points.
short on,
I couldn't
right?
understand their resentment or
what's the
disinterest in
difference?
learning more about such a
You
complex
don't
social
consume the
dynamic
book.
as
That's
racism.
literally it.
And my note there was like, yeah, I just fundamentally
Yeah,
pulling the
back
book
against your
out of
original point. I can't imagine why anyone would resent having to do this as part of their fucking
Like, what's our
office
highest
hours of shit they have to
That's
do.
all
Like,
it does,
they probably
Seth.
have emails they
You
have
don't
to
consume
answer
the
and
book.
shit.
Mine
They're probably
does.
freaking out about. They got to spend 2 hours where it's just like,
Matrix
Over
fish?
9,000.
yes, racism is this like is this horrible like intractable problem in our society. But it is so weird that like we're
Well,
coming
Justin,
up with like, the
I'm
medium
try
through
farming
which
the
we are
Ender
going to deal with this finally is The Office. Is shit that you have to
Wait,
do
if
at
it
work,
says sharpness
which is just
8
like
in the-
that.
in the
I
library,
can't help but
Justin,
feel it's
does
just
that mean
a
the highest
recipe
equal
for
at a 7?
disaster.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's not designed to do anything about racism too. But like,
Yes.
this is the
Justin
kid
made it
I
again.
realized
Just
that
not
we all
here.
hated who would ask for more homework,
What's up, buddy?
and then
I
would
don't
be
know. They always leave you when it's thundering.
Wait, you guys talking about me?
Oh my god.
No, never.
And open world.
The
NPC.
Where'd the end dragon thing go? Oh, I know what happened to the end dragon crystal. We're
shocked
gonna need
when
another.
people are like,
wisdom
why do
for
we
the
have
end
to do this
dragon.
extra thing? I don't. She's like, no, it's fun. We're getting
Did it get
better at
deleted
math.
when you guys spawned it all?
But like,
thing?
the idea of this being
Yeah,
outsourced
blew
too
up.
has a secondary
one job.
effect because
Yeah,
again,
to get
these are
the
PMC jobs.
Thing when you
It
kill them.
has
You
this
guys gonna do that?
secondary effect of credentializing and professionalizing
It's fine. Waystones are cheap.
anti-racism as a practice and essentially making it into an elite consumer good that some people can't afford. And you know what that means
I'm
is
going
that
back
all
in.
of those poor people, there's no way they could be anti-racist. Look,
What's
I
the
got
new
the
one down
certificate.
elsewhere?
I passed the course. And why would we ever
Okay, we
trust
disagree.
these elite
Nobody
institutions to even be able to administrate something like that when they
Can't wait
are
until I
major
get the,
factors in,
there's a blog I
like,
can
the
make from
academy, the
Spectrum,
corporate world.
other
They're
blogs,
historically
roasting
major
people,
factors
retired,
in the production of
We
racism.
farm?
I mean,
I need
Charles
that.
Murray
Down,
has a
that farm will be
degree.
gone.
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm
John,
sorry,
can
but,
we make
my
multiple
boss
void
is my
dimensions?
friend.
Because why
He
don't we
wants
just put
me
Jared
to
in his
be
own dimension?
unracist because he likes me.
Yeah, why don't I get
And
the
he
void
thinks it will
dimension
make my
where I
life
put my
better.
shit?
I will say
Then he doesn't
that
have to
something
flatten
that
anything,
validates the
he just has to
office,
expand his dirt.
thesis here.
And
I
then
don't think it's.
is that
I don't think they
for the
make
vast
multiple.
majority
I think
of
it sends you
people,
to the same one. in a
having to
different
go
position,
to an
but we can try.
employer-mandated
The void dimension.
anti-racism workshop.
we should do that and then
You're
lock
just
him
going
in
to
there.
turn your brain off for 4 hours and just try to not be involved
There's a-
to whatever degree
Okay,
that you
chest.
can.
Hold on.
Kind of like how girlfriends.
There's a
have to
chest where he
act
can
when there's a
deposit
new
food
Martin
that
Scorsese
comes
movie
back
out
to
on
our
streaming service.
Yeah, but he can't
which
actually
means
come back
that
himself.
the
He can't
only
come back.
people that she
It's
ever
like a
really
one-way
interacts
thing, you
with
know? We don't even
are
give him
the
any
people who
mats. He
get
just,
really
whatever,
indignant about the
Farmer
workshop
Jared,
because they don't have
stuck in his own little
the
dimension.
social
Whatever he
You
takes.
have to teleport my already
to
started
just be like, oh, this is a bullshit.
Wait,
thing.
it's
All
still
right.
here.
Yeah, just
It's
zone
probably
it out.
easier just to start over.
Because all the people in her book are just people with no
doubt.
chill whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yo,
I'm
honestly,
guessing
yo, why do you
too
put
that
fucking
she
water
like
every so many
like
blocks and
obviously she's
put the
going to
fucking
focus on
jack-o'-lantern
those people.
up in the
You
air
probably
and
have
then
let's be honest.
I wonder
other-
if you
other
do the
social issues,
wand and like
that they're dealing
copy.
with. Things-
Is there a
things
copy
going on in
paste
their
with the
life.
wand,
Because
John?
again, well-adjusted people are just like, this is bullshit. Just keep your head down.
Ava said she didn't feel
I don't
seen.
think so. As in like copying
Yeah,
the pattern.
yeah, yeah. That's a weird person.
That Ava was Ava
Yeah.
Braun.
Okay.
That was Ava Braun. Yeah.
Oh, one of the women. By the way, the
or
one
if
chapter
you
I
could
read
just,
about
you know,
anti-blackness,
not
or no,
make
it was the next chapter. I just noticed that one of the women in
What
one of
else
the
would
that is?
anecdotes
No,
is
no.
actually named Karen.
There was
Wait, there's
another
literally a
anecdote
copy and
where,
paste mode.
She was brought in by
There
a
is?
company to help them do a
I wonder if
diversity,
it works with water.
and they said, the last
I don't
Way to
know.
find
murder
out.
did,
Eat water and jack-o'-lantern.
left people traumatized. So
I don't know if it'll work with the
Why
Wii.
are you doing this?
anyone who's actually
Dude, what
actively
is wrong
grappling
with you?
this sort of fucking event
Hi.
that your employer forces you
Well,
to
they're doing
do
fireworks, so what do
is
you think, Jared?
basically going to be saying shit like that.
No, puppies on
So there was a
Sam's
recent
bed.
Onion article.
Yes, he's fine. He's fine.
White
Ninja
Ally
was on
wants to
my
do
bed.
whatever
No,
it takes
we'll
to make
puffer.
sure
Now
people
he's
aren't mad.
mad.
And
Yeah.
the dominant affect
pet.
that I can
Oh,
detect
he's good.
Oh,
is
I
anxiety.
broke your wheat.
And I think that's the grease between the two cogs of neoliberalism and algorithmic
Was that my first
media.
seed planted?
Anxiety is the modern product of this ancient conflict between trying to be a morally good person and living in, perhaps being complicit in, or feeling complicit in a society that is, by virtue of all measures, bad. And people try to treat this anxiety symptom with the same products of what is generated.
Oh,
buy this book,
Jared.
listen to this podcast,
Jared.
post the square, use the hashtag, don't use the
put it
hashtag,
there.
whatever. Within this framework, you're going to get grifters and quack salvers multiplying because
Do you want
people
to park in the
are
market?
seeking an easy solution to an intractable
Yeah, the problem is you haven't.
can take an
There's like
aspirin to treat your headache, but there will still be a malignant tumor in your brain. And because all of this is being worked out publicly for the consumption of others, and because we all have the tumor,
Oh, I don't have
treating
grass
your own
for this.
symptom usually just exacerbates the symptoms of everyone else.
You didn't have all that
And although there isn't
inventory?
anything per se wrong with taking the aspirin, in my opinion,
What'd you say?
if
You
your
have,
only
like,
concern
water
is treating the
in your
symptom,
inventory?
you'll never cure the disease.
I don't know about water.
This is
Didn't copy water, I just
this
copied
is
some
a
grass.
snake
I tried
oil.
it.
It's a placebo. But the thing is, placebos
Farm
work,
is full.
so it's fine.
Yeah.
Until you
Actual
don't have to
nonsense.
think about
Oh,
racism.
we need a torch.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you're reading this and it's making you feel like you have transcended these categories, that you have
Okay,
from just the
copied
moment you're reading
2 by
it,
2
burned
stone.
off the taint of
How to
racism,
replace.
then you're gonna feel better about yourself.
You're taking painkillers after
Why can't I
surgery.
look in the air?
And the
Also,
next time you have surgery, you'll take the painkillers again for most people. But some people just get addicted to the painkillers, and then they become involved in the white fragility MLM scheme.
Yeah, one
Okay,
of the
so it's
chapters
still
that I read
complaining
was
'cause I don't
about
understand.
beyond the good-bad binary.
Oh, no, you
and the
tried.
argument is a lot of people reject the idea that they have racial insensitivities within them because they have defined themselves as good and racism is a bad thing. And since they're not bad, therefore they can't be racist because racism is, an overt act as opposed to an attitude. That's the way and she writes a whole chapter saying, no, that's not correct. But the entire premise of the book is that, yeah, you can be good, or at least better, by reading the book.
Punch some of your wheat.
Hey, we're podcasting.
I have no idea how this
here.
works.
It's me, Will Menaker, back with another episode of Chapo. Joining me, as always, is Felix Peterman.
Hello, everyone.
Matt Chrisman.
Hey, everybody, shout out to all the haters who
May have also
protesting
deleted
in
some
front of my
pumpkin
pizza
seeds by
restaurant.
accident.
Let me just tell y'all, you get mad, I'm getting loose.
I don't have a hoe.
And
fix it.
last but not least, Amber Lee Frost.
Howdy.
Well,
so this
why are
week's
you complaining about me
episode,
breaking your stuff?
we're doing a book review. I wanted to talk about this book for a long time because it seems to me that
make
it
a hoe to fix
appeared
your little tiny hole.
on our national consciousness
fucking
at
make
the
one.
exact right moment to be adopted by
You know how much
the
my stuff
most
you've broken?
obnoxious twits
None
on
of
both
them.
left and right as some
You
sort
just
of
broke my backpack. I had to
soothsaying
fix that for
prescription
you.
for
I didn't break your backpack.
the
You don't let it
jangled
cook
and
in that
harried
shit, not me.
times that we live in. And of course, I'm
Nope,
referring
you
to the
broke it.
book Hillbilly
I had to fix
Elegy
it.
by J.D.
Now I'm
Vance.
gonna come all the way
Now,
over here,
unlike other
find
previous
a hoe,
book review episodes,
go all
where
the way back,
I've
just because there's one.
skimmed
I
quite
still hate that if
thoroughly
you like
all of the books that
slide.
we talked about on the show. I actually have not read this book. So
It's
joining
not a
us
good
is
spot.
someone
Around the
who
ground.
has.
I
Please
didn't. I
welcome
fell off the side.
Associate editor at Commonweal Magazine, Matthew Sitman. Matthew, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Matthew, you're working on a
We'll make
book
the
review
plant that
of
makes
Hillbilly
sense. You
Elegy
can't
right
break
now,
the
correct?
Right. I am.
So you're very familiar with this.
Yeah, I'm
I
tired
am,
of making
and
stuff for
I've
you.
followed
Make
the
your own
J.D.
crap.
Vance phenomenon since it started.
He is a
I can do
phenomenon.
food.
He sort of came
I
out of
mean,
nowhere.
I just saw he did
What
a
level are you right
TED
now?
Talk.
And where did you get that XP from?
Mark of quality, always.
It's sort of, it's a
Oh.
symbol of something.
Like, yeah, Matthew, I wanted to talk to you
Farming
about this book, and I
Let's
also wanted
see.
to talk to you about your background in life because I first, I guess, sort of took notice of you when you wrote this article for Dissent magazine that talked about you growing like the town and community that you grew up in called leaving. You wrote about leaving conservatism
Maybe if I do it with
behind,
the-
and like your life
Oh,
story.
bananas and
I guess
apples.
parallels in some way with J.D. Vance.
Dude, there's other things.
Yeah, the circumstances of my youth were not entirely
Better way to do bananas
different
and
than
apples
J.D.
besides
Vance's.
sitting
I definitely
for
wasn't
an hour.
quite the Appalachia hillbilly, like true poverty, but definitely working class, blue collar, central
Many.
Pennsylvania, not far from Pittsburgh, where
Chillax, bud.
you guys were recently. But I came out of it with a very different political perspective than him.
Well, let's start. I want to talk about the article you did for Dissent and how where your sort of prescriptions and paths differ from J.D. Vance. But I think the thing that needs to be underscored about J.D. Vance is just how readily and quickly this guy has been adopted as like the tribune or the soothsayer, the white working class whisperer, if you will, of both like the liberal and conservative media in this country.
Right, yeah. I think this is before the book came out,
Oh,
but I
this
remember
Croptopia
David
food
Brooks
for
in
dogs.
April during the primaries wrote this sort of mea
What do you
culpa
mean?
for the New York Times in his column where he
You
said,
open the book and you're like,
I
hey,
just
how do I
didn't
go
know
find
who these people
this
were.
shit?
I
It's
was
just
stuck
like,
in my
yeah, go find
bourgeois
it.
strata,
Like,
as
this
he put it,
entire
and he
page.
just didn't know he was
Oh,
going
yeah,
to vote
just
for
go find
Trump.
it in the bio.
So that was the mindset, I think,
Yeah.
of a lot of pundits, a
Like,
lot
the
of
book
kind
is
of mainstream
literally
writers
fucking useless.
and journalists
No one online
who
knows
they just didn't know
how or where to
where these
find
people
the
were
shit
coming
or
from
how
or what their
farms spread
experiences had been. And then
Goodbye.
into
Not
that
fucking
gap
coded
stepped
the way it
J.D.
is, everything
Vance
else is.
and this book. And instead of actually having to,
I
you
found
know,
most of the Croptopia
experience
stuff.
some of the things these people experience,
it
visit
helps
where they
that we
live,
can literally
they
just
could sort of
fly
read this
anywhere,
book and
everywhere.
feel like they got it and were
No,
sort of
there's only
tolerant.
about that
And,
makes
and
the
here was
marketplace
someone with a
divide
Yale
and
law
so
degree who was speaking their language and flattering a lot of their assumptions.
David Brooks was online at the Applebee's salad bar, but he wasn't looking at his fellow patrons at the Applebee's establishment. And as such of that, he missed the writing on the wall about Trump getting the Republican nomination and eventually the president. So
I'm sorry, Applebee's does not have a fucking salad
that's
bar.
the joke. David Brooks wrote a whole book where he talks about going to the Applebee's salad bar.
Wait, really?
In his Bobos in Paradise book, there's a whole section about Applebee's where he talks about using the salad bar there.
Oh God, I have to listen to the episodes of this show that I'm not on.
You thought this was like my pronunciation of Zine, but no,
yeah.
this is actually
Well, I mean, to be fair, you have a lot of strange pronouncing.
that is true.
I don't need to own Will again, but the Applebee's salad bar reference is actually from an interview he gave talking about how Barack Obama was not connected to American folkways because he would, quote, not be comfortable at an Applebee's salad bar, which is rendered even more hilarious because he was in that very quote showing that he had no connection
Yeah.
to
something else.
supposed grassroots of
It's a
America.
lowercase.
Let me be clear. I love
It's at the
all
bottom.
57 of the conversations at the salad bar.
Anyway, so people like David Brooks and readers of the New York Times were shocked that large swaths of America, of white America, were overthrowing predictable patterns of behavior to
Right.
go for a guy like Trump, who in every on every outward appearance by their lights was a vulgarian, a fraud, a
Are they just
fool,
going to, like, Aquazumba?
but yet was speaking to these people
No,
in
they're
such a
hanging
way
with their
that
friends.
he could basically become president of the United States. In comes J.D. Vance, and his book is published at exactly the right time to explain to these people the culture of this forgotten white working class. So could you talk a little bit about what is J.D. Vance's story, and how does he view this culture that he is sort of transcribing for an elite audience?
Right. Well, the basics of, first of all, it's a memoir.
How do you auto-farm
so it's kind of told through the first person and his set of experiences. And it gives a little bit of background about that part of Kentucky and Ohio, the two states where he grew up, and a little bit of his family background, like his grandparents and great-grandparents, the stock, so to speak, he came from. And then it just walks you through some of what he experienced growing up, like his mother's problems with drugs, the way he was raised by a kind of collection of grandparents, aunts, uncles, a father who came back into the picture later, and then eventually makes it to the military and Ohio State University and then Yale Law School. And so that's a lot of his childhood and adolescence in Kentucky and Ohio, and then him sort of making it and breaking through. And from that perspective, looking back from the vantage point of being in Silicon Valley, going to Yale Law School, he kind of, I think in the book, views himself as someone who can bridge that gap. He exists in both worlds, and he tells the story very much from that angle.
Well, and liberals love the story of the one who got out.
Right.
And don't
Right.
perhaps consider the possibility that the reason that person may have, quote unquote, gotten out is because they are perhaps not the best representative of the community from which they have emerged.
Well, like, there's a couple things going on here, because, like, first of all, like, he's a pretty good writer.
I'm seeking
right?
solace
I have
in
to
the
say,
quiet of John's factory area.
Reading the bulk of the memoir, it didn't really set off my bullshit detector. Like, he tells
Ain't no
stories
quiet
that are
here.
pretty harrowing at points that he doesn't play them up.
Come back here,
he doesn't
Howard.
make more
all
of them than he
circuit
should.
types
He doesn't
except
write
for the
about them in a way
higher
that's
tier
obviously
ones,
trying to,
that I can make right
manipulate you emotionally in some way. So, as just a literary
That one I've only
document,
got, like,
it's not
200
bad. In fact, that's part of its success. Is
Wait,
he
you're
does
what?
this very well.
I'm
But
maxed out on all the
as you were
circuits.
getting at, it's the analysis he
8,000.
provides, and because it's a memoir, he
Except
doesn't
for the
really.
highest tier one.
It's not
Does
a
it get-
policy book, but he does give a prescription of sorts.
Is it
for what
making
ails-
more, or do they get used?
It has
so
a
it's like
quality
it's
of being like
backlog.
not
It's
like
making
well
more of
written,
the,
authentic, and this kind of first
the
person
highest tier
narrative,
one needs
right? That
platinum
he is
plates,
bringing it to. So it
which,
has
was broken
it checks off all these
until very
authenticity
recently.
boxes that
Exactly.
people really
Now that I have
crave
that fixed, we should
in
make
trying to
more of the
understand
higher
things
tier
like
circuits.
poverty in America,
Right.
right?
And there
Oh,
are
I
a
wanna
few
do the
anecdotes
quantum
like his
ones.
grandmother,
But I gotta
like
do
trying to
the
set
reality.
fire to, I think, her husband, his grandfather. There's a family story of someone being like marred by a chainsaw. He drops in a few things like that to, give you the sense that this really is authentic. But yeah, it definitely checks those boxes.
And like coming out of that, like you alluded to it as well, but like him as a personal story also checks off all these boxes of sort of liberal and conservative meritocracy, right? It's
Right,
not this that
exactly.
he comes from a poor background with a drug
Like my
addicted
farm.
mother, and
Yeah, cool.
coming out of rural poverty and this kind of this forgotten class of people that are now
Oh,
asserting
I
themselves
haven't.
electorally. It's that they pulled himself up by the bootstraps, and specifically by joining the Marines and serving in Iraq, then going to Ohio State, then Yale Law, and then becoming a
Hey,
venture
John.
capitalist in San Francisco,
Wait.
working for,
How
and
do you
this is the real
change
name
what
of the company,
recipe the cutting machine
Mithril
does?
Capital Management, an investment
Hey,
firm
Justin.
helmed by
Hold
Peter
up.
Thiel.
right.
Did you find?
Yeah.
we need to find an end
Mithril,
shift
I
to
want
find
to point out
The
it's
cutting machine.
one of
And
Peter
then what?
Thiel's is a few things like this where it's a fund
We have to
named
find-
after some
Nah,
Lord of
never
the
mind.
Rings bullshit,
The secret.
No,
and it also
And
lost
ship.
most of its value.
There's
I
something
know,
so
yeah.
just
I can't. I found
depressing
a
about the
couple
fact that
different,
we're
like, really
ruled by
small
these fucking
cities, but none of them had ships.
I mean, at least
Making
like the
something
old
for you,
school
John.
robber barons
Okay.
were just these steely-eyed,
You
syphilitic
can-
psychopaths.
It's a
Yeah,
lost
No, I
Fucking
genuinely miss
convention
it.
nerd dorks with their goddamn Lord of the Rings bullshit.
No, I didn't. It's just
ruling
it's
over
the
us
same
with iron
recipe, I'm
fists.
guessing. So it just does
JP
the one,
Morgan-
and I wanted to do the other one.
JP Morgan was like 700 pounds overweight.
He ate oysters for every meal. Instead of coffee, he would drink a mix of morphine and bourbon. He used to walk up any stairs, walk more than 2 blocks. He would take cabs everywhere. He was such a fucking drunk that he had a growth on the edge of his nose that looked like cauliflower. Fucked strippers all the time.
It's okay, I figured it out.
He was awesome.
He did that thing that like American like millionaires do, where they're like, I want shit to look fancy and European. So he would have like shit reproduced of like, you know, naked cherubs flying, but he's like, but also America. So we would like put like an American flag in it. It's like when Kanye was like, I want Renaissance babies, but I want them black.
Yeah.
It's like that crazy, like weird nouveau riche thing that like they do where they're just like, okay, I want the authenticity of old world money, but also I want to adjust it to make it appropriate for my context.
He was an auteur, and he would have these dinners with all the strippers he was fucking. This is true.
We'll see how long it takes you to notice what I did.
They would put pearls in them. Like just to give to people. Just
I'm making minor cosmetic upgrades to John's factory every so often.
1/3 of his age and 1/10 of his body weight.
Oh, here's like a 1,000-year-old Ethiopian Bible and like, you know, some fucking Armenian book made out of like, you know, turquoise, and here's like old antiquity, and like he had at least a cool collection of shit. Peter Thiel probably has so many Lord of the Ring reproduction swords.
Peter Thiel.
Oh, you still don't have the drill set up here?
All he does is wear like dry fit quarter.
But you have all the components for them, right?
And like his big, his equivalent to JP Morgan.
You don't have all the components set up here yet? Oh, because you focused on circuits.
I'm bringing my favorite Wikipedia moderators into a room. We're all going to debate circumcision. That's a Peter Thiel party.
This looks so much better, doesn't it?
Okay, we're getting off track.
Yeah, to be fair, I've heard of some other.
There's an
Peter Thiel
industrial
parties
one
that are more
that's darker that I might do, but it needs
back to JD Vance,
industrial iron, which is like
so
a
the subtitle of this book it's Hillbilly Elegy. The subtitle is A Memoir of Family and Culture in Crisis, and it's that second part. It's the culture in crisis that forms, I think, a lot of the crux of this book, or at least the response to it. How does J.D. Vance talk about hillbilly culture? What does he make of it?
Well,
God knows we have enough iron.
He talks about it in a few different ways. At the start of the
book,
book,
don't you think it fits the decor a little better?
Tells an anecdote of he had a summer job or a job shortly after high school or college.
No, I said I like
some blue collar job, and they had trouble staffing it, actually keeping people in these jobs because someone
Dustin
would show
said
up.
he's jealous of your
had a wife
storage
and a kid, but
in the new
didn't want to
factory.
work and would quit after 2 days or something like that.
Because
it drops in a lot of those.
The main
anecdotes.
inventory
There's a work
got
ethic
full, so
problem
Justin made some more of
in
the
white
1K
working class
chips.
culture.
And then he's like, where should I put it in John's factory?
Kind
or
of
the normal
paranoia
one? If I
and
go to the normal
suspicion
one? And then he
marks
goes,
this culture,
John's
he
inventory is
underscores that.
huge.
And basically, like you said, the fact that that second word in the subculture, in the
this one is
culture,
set up.
that's
each of those
really the
cells
core of
is
his
one
critique
item
of
type.
why things are
Did
the
you
way
block
they
it like
are,
that?
and why these people are suffering what they're suffering.
Oh wow, that's
People are
actually
taking
crazy.
off work so that they can
So
go under
that's-
the tree
that's
by
so
the
that,
fishing hole and tie a line to their toe while they fall asleep.
Fill up
Honestly,
on one
like,
thing that I'm producing too fast.
My grandparents are Appalachian, and
That shuts everything down or whatever. That's
they're
good.
like
Yeah,
the,
like
the
if you
super
jam up
work
the
until
storage
you
and then, like,
bleed
something
kind.
happens and like diesel
But
doesn't
there
produce anymore.
definitely is a fuck this
Oh,
job.
so like
I'll-
gold
I'll-
ingots
I'll
are capped
quit
at
it.
8K, right? Like it's just discarding everything
yeah,
above it.
absolutely. They're,
No,
just take
it's
this
not
job
even
and
discarding,
shove it. And also, there's just like
It depends on the item.
even
Some-
older than that,
some
like
fluids
bluegrass. Like I ain't gonna work on the railroad, ain't
but
gonna
for
work
most
on the farm,
items,
lay
I
around the
just-
shack till the mail train comes back, roll in my sweet baby's arms. Like, no, I would rather not work. I would rather fuck.
If you
And
notice
frankly,
over here,
that
there's
is the
a
best
machine
thing.
Producing gold ingots, it's stopped most of the time. Because we're not consuming them very fast.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys one other thing about enchanting. There's also an enchanting filter for live enchantments that we can put in. There's like a special bookshelf, and we put in a book. And you won't get whatever book, you won't get that enchantment.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Getting too much of one.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
We have 7 mending points stored. Do you know how many we had before?
Not many.
No, I don't know. I'm asking Justin.
What? I'm sorry.
We have 7 mending points.
Yeah.
Is that what we had?
Think that's what we had.
Okay, because I don't know if it's adding to that or not.
The last time I
Like, it
checked,
might
we had
not.
7, so.
Okay. Yeah, so
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
it's
that's
not
the
doing
one
it.
we really could use more of. But I mean, we
Well,
can
we'll
fill it
see.
up and then.
Yeah. That's
Whatever.
crazy. That's so crazy.
It's kind of wild.
I kind of broke the game a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna pick a dog somewhere.
I'm looking, Justin.
You're what, Sam?
I'm looking. I'm literally flying around in the end.
I flew all over the place. I couldn't find it. I didn't go north of the...
You couldn't find a ship?
No, I didn't find a ship at all. There's ships in the sky, but they're not like Elytra ships. They're like custom built spaceships or something.
Per block?
They're really they're up super high.
Diamond glaive, smithing template.
Yeah, where are people?
Oh, and city map. That might be helpful.
Oh.
Yeah, I found Justin.
Ow.
Yeah, where's everybody else?
I'm in the end. Huh, there's oh, there's a chorus moo. There's a chorus cow. Enderman. Fine, I'll just fly away. You can't touch me, bitch. It's another Ender Slime Island. What is
Yeah,
that?
where's John at?
My factory. Factory dimension, anyway.
What the fuck is that?
It's John's pocket dimension that has a factory.
You keep all these fucking dimensions.
Yeah. Oh. Obsidian altar? Oh, cool. Oh, here's the end city.
Oh, Justin's gone. We lost Justin.
What's here?
Oh, you're there?
Yeah, I'm never not gone. I'm always here. What?
I have a shulker shell.
Nice.
You guys see the chick that complained that Elden Ring was too hard because she has kids and they should add a pause button for her?
Wait, they don't have a pause button?
What the fuck would they?
I thought they did.
Like every other game, you just go to the menu. There's no pause button, really?
You definitely can go to the menu.
I don't know. She was crying about it.
Jesus?
That's funny.
That wasn't like the worst part. The worst part was she called it a disability.
She said having kids
is a disability.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with her.
They need to have accessibility pause options for parents with kids. Since it's a
Hell no. Bro, I saw this thing. Oh, never mind.
No, say it now.
No, say what?
Mm-hmm.
I saw this thing where they created a muzzle for like children.
Yes, they need it. I saw it too.
Oh, you saw that? And I said this should be mandatory on airplanes and in public places.
Well, we put leashes on kids now. Now we have muzzles.
Yeah, that needs to be a thing too. I mean, honestly, I would put a leash on my kid.
Realizing that they can't take care of a kid, so they gotta treat it like a dog.
I used to be anti-leash. I am now pro-leash.
Is it because you were a leash kid, Justin?
I was never leashed as a child. But I feel kids are too wild today. They look rabid and shit.
It's because their parents don't teach them manners.
Oh, maybe.
And how to behave in public.
It's because we're not allowed to hit kids anymore.
That's yep.
You're not even allowed to yell at kids.
I don't know. It didn't seem to work on you, Jared.
No, that's a fact.
I wasn't hit as a kid. I turned out fine.
Damn.
Well.
Now, what's your poison, John? If you're poison, rather the kids get hit or not?
Emotional damage. Hey, if it doesn't work, I guess it's just cruelty then.
About hillbillies is because they're horrible, shitty work. It's incredibly, like, a lot of the job opportunities there have been historically very dangerous. And also, like, in the in the economy of a lot of these regions,
Get me
like
outta here.
ramping up until the 70s,
Stupid
you could
chokers,
literally
man.
work for a few months and then just say fuck off.
Well, this is a trajectory that he does trace in the book, or at least in the reviews that I
Keep
read.
in mind, as a Marxist and materialist, none of this means anything, and I'm not adhering to any kind of cultural.
We're going to
thing
get to
anyway.
that.
Oh,
We're
Justin.
gonna get to what's wrong
What
with
up?
the cultural explanation for.
I have good news for you.
What? What?
Guess what I found?
Another mending? Oh, dragon head?
Perhaps.
You have a dragon head. Ah, very nice. That I think we can do max level enchants with that then.
Do you need one?
I mean, I need as many as you can give me.
I'll fly around, see if I can't find any more.
Poverty, which is everything, but like he does trace in this book an economic arc of
fireworks,
upward mobility in these communities.
Well,
up
we
until
have the
about
fireworks, we
70s,
just need the
and
elytra
then a
now.
sharp downturn into what is
Why
now.
would
He
we-
quotes that more
Elytra
people
are
in
useless
the
to
town he
us.
grew up in Ohio, more people
I
die
still
of drug
want one.
overdoses than natural causes. Now that was like last
We have a
year.
glider
Right,
and
so
the
that's an
power
important
of
part the story,
creative
too, is
flight.
basically, there was, a migration of sorts out of
Elytra pairs
Appalachia,
well with
proper,
creative
like
flight,
real
but
hillbilly folks,
still.
to places like Middletown, Ohio, where his grandparents moved for a well-paying
You guys
factory
need
job
me, I would
in,
be
say, the 1950s, that general time period.
I learned they are called butternuts. This is what historians called them. I only learned this from a
The people
historian.
who moved out of the hollers to work at
Yeah.
the factory were called
Yeah.
butternuts.
Yeah, I
Nice
don't
thing.
know why.
It was the people who
All
moved
I
out of
have
the
to do
holler
is find a way
to
to
do factory
But a
work,
couple-
roughly mid-century.
Or
and-
use the one in my
And it was
pocket.
really his mother's generation, say, as you said, the 1970s, where the decay seems to start in. But he doesn't connect any of these dots. Like, why was there a well-paying factory job in the
Half the mods,
1950s?
like, just
or
don't work.
what happened in the 1970s that might have, put in place a
when you're
different set
using
of
them, Jared.
incentives
The
or
automatic feeding
just different work
trout
environment,
doesn't
different
work.
work circumstances, different economic circumstances. He doesn't really, he's telling a generational story, but he doesn't really connect it to the broader changes in the economy or political system at all.
The fucking fertilizer.
He talks a lot
doesn't
about
work.
the
Some
world he grew
automated
up in
farming shit.
was one of
Yeah, I never bothered
extreme family
with the fertilizer.
instability, alcoholism, random violence, and just
Aw,
people
damn it.
that are quick to
It's like a
anger,
sprinkler.
and not a lot of stability in his life.
Just like
But
a
at the same time, there's a
sprinkler.
lot about
Facts.
hillbilly culture that he praises and
There's
sort of
like-
valorizes in a way.
Yeah, I mean, the general
Yeah, where's the
sense of
automated
loyalty or kind of close-knit families,
There's
even
a
though
couple different
it's
ones.
in
Which
tension
one
with
do you
sort of family breakdown, but
I don't know.
those kind of more tribal loyalties, you might say, are
I don't
are
actually know
virtues he does
Yeah.
respect.
Well, and also he built his brand off them, so he can't throw them
Which
completely.
one works in this mod pack? I fucking in like 2 hours I blew through that fucking Botania mana shit.
I did a mod pack in this one already. I think Jared should do a mod pack now.
I did Botania. I blew through the whole fucking thing.
Sam did Botania.
I did most of Botania.
I did it too.
You did one thing, which is fill up the
Completely
mana
off
for
under
your
the bus.
Very much so.
No, I made
Now,
a
in
mana
preparing
pool
for this,
over here.
I
that,
was
like, you
reading.
fill the mana pool in,
I
like,
wanted
2
to
minutes.
get a sample of how this book was received, and it was
just
overwhelmingly
fucking-
positively reviewed. And I went
that's
to
how I leveled the shit out
the
of
New
everything.
Yorker review of this book by Joshua Rothman. That
There's
I
a
think was,
village out there
the New Yorker
that
is kind of
I
like the
stood in the middle
standard
of,
of
and I
like what
raised
is
the
like the
ground
elite
and
media
entirely, like,
consensus
covered,
on
like, the
something.
entire
Like this is like the height of
It's representative.
of the sort of cosmopolitan
Why do I
culture
have
that
random
supposedly
crap
looks
food?
down and condescends to the culture
Excuse
that J.D. Vance came out of. And in the review, I found a lot of interesting
that's your
things
food.
about the reception
You
to
and
this
Justin
book.
need
And
to
quoting from it now, he
put
says,
that in
the reviewer says here,
I know where to put it.
there is
Eating set.
no, actually, sorry, this is
Put
J.D. Vance
each of those
being
4
quoted
things.
here. There is a lack of agency
Just
here, a
pork and
feeling that you have
beans,
little
fruit
control
salad,
over your life, and a willingness to
vegetable
blame
soup.
everyone but yourself. This is distinct from the larger economic landscape of modern
else.
America. And my question is it?
And you
I don't
put
think
that
so.
Do you have to put it in the advanced?
And there's a couple different reasons why. One is he doesn't really get into the prehistory of this culture at all, in terms of the way it might have come out of company towns, mining towns that were
if you put it in there and then
just dependency breeding, culture destroying, soul crushing set of circumstances. And then out of that, his grandparents moved to a new place. Right? For some reason, that mobility seems.
Are you guys using the
that kind of
backpack
uncertainty
auto
that comes with mobility? They moved to a new place, and you can see actually that was a real linchpin to the story. He doesn't really underscore it, but
trivializes
his grandparents moved away from
you were like,
their
you just
family, their
carry
tribe,
different foods.
and kind of didn't know what
That's
to
what
do.
I've been doing the
like
whole game.
you know, they had his mother,
figure out if it eats them
and
equally
let's say
or
she's a
not.
difficult child. You know, before there would have been this coterie of aunts, uncles, family members, all kind of helping raise
Well,
these
just
children
so far,
together.
I've
But
only
now
found one.
they're in
One
some
more.
house by themselves with neighbors they
And
don't really know. And it was that
dragon
move out of the
dragon
holler.
head.
They kind of got the worst of both worlds,
got
like
food
the
for Sam.
anonymity and uncertainty of a new place, but they brought with
I think
them
I still have the
some of the
cookies
habits
you
and
gave me.
traits that come from,
Yeah, I don't.
you know,
now that I fly everywhere,
decades
I don't
of
consume a lot of food.
a certain kind of economic system
which
in
is bad, 'cause
Appalachia
it doesn't
centered
keep
around
your
coal mining.
diet up.
Yeah, well, and
that's true. But I also
agriculture
don't
too. I
attack
mean, you're
things,
talking
so
about
My
people
diet
that
is
like
zero. 'cause
John,
like my
John's
papa
our
had 12
factory
brothers
person.
and sisters,
make flying eat
and
food
my
or
mom had
something.
9.
It's like
And
an
those were
actual
just the ones that
debuff.
lived. And
When I
like,
died and got
because they
reset
just
to
never
zero, I
thought
kept
that they
damaging
would
myself on
move.
purpose so
They
I could
just
eat
never
more.
thought that they would do anything
That's
other
funny,
than
'cause, like,
farm.
stand in lava for an hour.
And
What, Jared?
you know, they talk about
It's funny,
like
I can just, like, stand in
paranoia.
lava for an hour.
Like Appalachian
No, I was
people
just
have pretty good reasons to be
the thing
paranoid.
that you
I
have
mean,
in
like,
your base,
like just the Tennessee Valley Authority
Sky
alone
Tower.
gave a lot of
I
people
was
a
just
very
climbing
short
up that
shrift.
and jumping off.
You know, I obviously supported. A lot of people would still not have electricity if they did, but you know, people were not properly reimbursed.
It doesn't
There was all
damage
kinds
me
of
fast
weird,
enough.
fucked up,
The spike in the base is
you know, liberal.
Which one?
Social
The spike in the
reformers who sort of
What
tried
spike?
to covertly introduce
spikes that you made
sterilization
at the time of-
programs.
Oh, those
I mean,
ones?
there's very good reasons for
No, I don't think
Appalachians
so.
to be
I had
paranoid.
to take all of my armor off
And
except
they
for
would, you know,
one
treat
piece,
it as sort
and
of
then I was
like a
just-
colony within America.
Yeah, because also like the fear of this like
Well, you should take
you
it all
know
off so you're not,
hyper
like-
fecund horde of people living in the hills.
Oh, how did my
like
chest
it's
plate
very you know
He has
it's they very much
crazy,
occupy
stupid
the
endgame on American.
fantasy
Oh my God, that
horror
almost killed me.
imaginations of cosmopolitan urban people.
I'm taking 0 damage.
And when it gets to
off
when
your
Vance begins to
Oh, I see
discuss
where you would
going to
explore
Yale and sort of seeing the other side of this culture, that's where he gets into this idea of this is where he becomes like the white working class whisperer to people
Oh my
like
God,
for
it gives
instance,
me
Rod
bowls.
Dreher, who was
Worst
huge
food
in
ever.
popularizing this book. This idea
that
that it's
puff?
really it's the snobbery
Good, put
of
your
the other
bowls back
people
in
and their
the fucking
condescension that is feeding
my
into the
bowls go where it
dysfunction
belongs.
of this
I'm like
the
the
culture.
anything
that
with
we're
5 or
seeing. I
more
wanna- There's one
ingredients.
thing from this review here that I want to point out. He says, white
Yeah, I'm gonna
poverty,
do
Vance,
something
this
else
is
for
Rothman,
Jared.
the reviewer. White poverty, Vance comes to feel, is a source of special shame.
Salad, pork, and
No
beans,
one at
vegetables,
Yale
butter,
sees
toast.
dignity in it. Instead, they define themselves in opposition to people like him. One professor says
these
that in his
fucking spikes,
opinion,
like, four-
Yale law
four
shouldn't
star
bother
hit.
accepting students from non-Ivy League schools, since it's not his.
Be a good nerd,
He's not in the
huh?
business of quote remedial education. And I think that this is
I
like
feel kind of
obviously, I mean,
invincible,
like
and I
that's
feel
an
kind of like
asshole
it's
thing to
cheating,
say.
John.
I'm shocked to find out there's elitist.
Hey, Jared, let me see how much damage I
at the
do.
Ivy League.
No.
But what
Yeah,
I think he's
You ready?
doing here is I think
I
there's
get
sort of a
this
sleight of
far,
hand
I
in which
feel confident.
Yale.
I mean, I just one
Yale
hit,
Law
just
School
one
and
hit.
the Ivy League
I will kill you.
is his
Just see
shorthand
what
for
happens.
Cosmopolitan values and liberalism.
You can hit me
writ
if you want,
large,
Jolson.
right? Not just a very
but you have
distinct
armor on.
subset of a highly elite
I take off
culture
2 of the
that is
pieces.
maybe a subset
Okay.
of just East Coast, not
But you only have 40
you
armor.
know Southern or Midwestern hillbilly culture.
Right, he
Did nothing.
extrapolates a lot.
Point
from
four.
that.
Again.
And some
Do
of
it
those
again?
stories
Where
he
are you?
tells about being at Yale Law are actually kind
Just
of
hit
interesting.
me.
Like, and I identified with some of them.
I just became
so
the
when
guardian
he
that
was,
Sullivan talks about.
you're looking
And
for a
that's how it
summer
hurt.
law gig.
Solo held
You go through
point
this
B
onerous
on a
interview
10-kill
process
streak.
where you know
Nice,
you
Joey.
end up having dinner
Ryan Banners
after
for
multiple
nudes.
rounds of
Let's
interviews.
go.
You end up having
Alright, again,
dinner
Joe.
at a fancy
Justin.
restaurant with these partners at the firm
I'm
that
sad,
hire
Justin.
you, and he talks about
Sad
not
about what?
knowing which fork to use.
I have
or
found
how to order
2
wine.
crashed
You know,
ships.
there's a great
Alright,
story
again.
where the waiter comes over. What kind of wine? do you want?
Oh my
Red
god.
versus white, but say, I'll take red.
Did you almost one-tap
And
Seth?
I almost
won.
won. I mean, he was like a 28, but yeah.
Someone who grew up in
took him down to like
circumstances
1.
totally different than his.
Yeah.
Who lived
Jesus.
in DC. I went
took
to
off
grad
all
school
my
at
armor,
Georgetown
though.
and found myself in very similar circumstances.
Except for my like one
in a
ring.
very short
Wait,
period.
That could have been
you
you, Jared.
You're moving in
What?
very
Joey's
different
playing
circles.
Iron Banana.
That resonated.
Iron Banana,
but
I just got a 10-man kill streak.
you know, there are
solo
other
holding B
times
one
where he
game.
talks about
Joey needs to be
professors who
playing
were
Show
critical of the war in
Aquarius. I
Iraq.
got
And
Zero.
as a veteran, he was just,
Not enough.
you know, he views that as
3.14
condescension.
KD.
Right, it's like an anti-military attitude. When really,
I know the feeling,
if you
Joey.
look back, there's a lot of good reason
It
to
doesn't.
be horrified by what happened in Iraq, including the behavior of some
Carrion
other-
League.
Oh
Go on.
no, stop.
America.
You know, suspicion
America.
about
No, it's
stuff
red,
that
white, and
least
blue
is not
beds.
ipso facto.
You're out of
bigotry or
control with this.
condescension or anything like that.
You told
I
me
think this
you
gets
wanted
to like
them.
the sort of
Well, we have
that's
them.
that's at the heart of
I
this book
did this
about
for
how
you,
he views
Anakin.
hillbilly culture that he comes from, and this kind
Oh,
of
yo, I wanna
elite
go look
culture
at
that
the
looks down
freaking
on it. And I want to
enchantments.
read. This is again from the New Yorker Review. This is
Forgot about them.
Rothman writing here.
Hurts
He
over
says.
there.
This is Vance
Oh, is it
Jones,
lagging?
Obama's comments
Ridiculously
during the 2008
loud
election,
over
the
there.
famous
Oh.
line where he said, you know, if you look at these towns, there's no jobs, there's no opportunity, and they cling to their guns and religion as a source of identity, which Obama got slammed for to this day. People still,
Right, it's a right-wing trope.
yeah, it's a right-wing trope. You know,
This is
Rothman
getting
says in the
better.
article, well, what he's saying in this book is really not that much different than what Obama was saying in that. But Vance, okay, so he says Vance conceded that Obama's comments had been well-intentioned and that
Okay,
he had
that's
named
right.
legitimate problems.
Nothing. Can't tell you.
Nonetheless,
It's a
he said
secret.
Obama's comments lacked sympathy. Reading Hillbilly
I like
Elegy,
all
you
of
see
my
what
little
Vance
gifts to be
means.
surprises,
Vance is
yeah.
after a certain kind of sympathy, sympathy among equals that doesn't demean or condescend. Such sympathy can't be deterministic and categorical. In fact, it must be a little judgmental. It must be the people to whom it's extended as dignified individuals who retain their moral obligations. Okay, like this is the contradiction to
John.
me. Vance is a conservative, right?
Right.
He's still a right wing. He's still a Republican guy. So he's looking at these
Well, I
the
was gonna ask,
causes and
people
of
say
poverty,
don't
right?
use the
But he wants
auto-crafting
people to
table
talk
from
about it in a
Tucker
very
Born. They
singular
say
way.
use something else,
And I think
like
what he
the
wants is
Packard, but that's
sympathy
from
on
modern
his
industrialization,
terms,
right?
Exactly.
right? Where you have
Yeah.
to respect the culture they're from.
The
But what
assembler,
he
you
doesn't
mean?
want is any
I
political
don't know.
engagement
What,
with
other
that
than
culture
auto crafting table,
outside
like, what else
of
is there?
basically Republican
Just
economics.
do a recipe.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So he does
I'm
you use
partially
the term
using
sleight of hand.
it
That's
for
exactly
it,
right.
it's fast,
So he
it's
wants
easy to
us to
program.
not condescend to this culture.
You can
But if
do
I'm
it-
just trying to do like a
but he
dedicated
refuses to
pipe,
talk about it in any way
You know,
other
like
than
one-
you can do
what
it
lines
with
up
an
almost
AG
perfectly with
sub-network,
right-wing talking
but, yeah,
points.
if you don't have
Another way
the
of putting
cables
it
there,
is that
that's gonna
Vance
be a
wants
pain
to
in
be
the
this
ass.
brave truth teller, right? He tells these people
what's
they
wrong
need to
with
get
the
their life
technical?
together. They need
No,
to
people just say it's
shape up,
slow. I think it's
or,
fine.
You know, they're going to
But-
continue to be mired in
I'm
these
just so
terrible
glad
circumstances.
rednecks have our own Bill Cosby now.
You see, he's like
We do need to pull it.
I'm gonna have to see what's
Pull up
fast
that
enough.
car
Yeah,
hard
so like the
jacket.
problem with
instead
A2
of pull
is
up your pants, it's
it-
pull up
wait,
your ass
wait,
flaps.
can you
on
set
your
up
cross-cut
auto-crafting?
underwear.
How do you set up? That's a good question.
Well, I mean, it is
If I have, like,
amazing symmetry, isn't it?
scrap,
Between
let's say,
the liberal
flowing
attitude,
into a-
which says
how
we
do I
must
set it up to
give
automatically take any
sympathy
scrap that
to
comes in and turn
poor,
it into
deserving people, and by deserving they
boxes
mean
or whatever.
members of a oppressed racial minority.
Is there a way to
and
do that?
fuck
Yes,
off
it
to
is.
poor white
So you
people
can set up,
because they're
set up a
racist.
sub-network, you put an
And
energy acceptor
this is
on
basically
it.
no. You have to have sympathy for poor white people too.
Yep.
But in both cases,
Then there's
all
a
it
thing,
means is
there's this thing called the
exhibiting
export bus.
a public
Normally, the export bus
sense
will try and
of you know,
pull
oh, I
items
feel
out
your
of the
pain,
system
and not ever
and push them.
transmitting that into any kind of policy that might alleviate it.
You can
Right.
program
Well, there's
it
a
to
there's
with
a
upgrade
piece
called the
by
crafting card,
Adolf
which
Reed
causes it to craft the
called
items
"What Are the
instead.
Drums Saying?" Booker, the curious role of a black
And then you
public
just loop it
intellectual,
back into itself, or it crafts them
where
and
he
then
talks
exports?
about this kind of
Yeah, you
direct
put the- you put the
correlation,
Xbox
and
on
these
these,
liberals like love
the
to elect
Xbox.
certain representatives
The
of
export
marginalized groups,
Scrap
and
Boxinator,
they
right?
view them as translators.
So then it turns it
and
into
the
scrap
metaphor he
boxes and
uses
shoves it
is
back in.
this show
it'll shove the scrap
Ramar of the
boxes
Jungle,
into the scrap
where
boxes.
there's some
The export bus just
there's some
pumps
white
items
guy who
into
has a native whatever sidekick.
I think I'm gonna try what I'm
Interpreter,
thinking
yeah.
with the
And
auto-crafting cable.
you know, the native people
see
would
if
be
it's
like
fast.
playing drums to communicate, and he would say, "What are the drums saying, Booker?" And yeah, this guy is just a hillbilly Booker. He's been elected to be a translator because he tells them exactly what. And the whole thing, like, it's this weird kind of like single source representation.
Is this Amazing Adam got your guy
They're
chair?
only going to let. They're not going to let like dissident views in. Like they found their one hillbilly.
Yeah.
And that's who they're
Oh,
going to
I wasn't
use
sure
to,
if he was like a
you know,
traitor or
form
if he
their,
was
their
something.
ideas about the politics of
That's cool.
of rural white working class people.
Can I read a passage from the
please
book?
do.
Because
did I
it
not
gets
tell
at
you
something
about that?
important. And when I
You
read
and
this,
Seth
this
both
is
knew about that guy,
when
and me and Sam
probably
searched the
shouldn't have
entire
told
planet for all the
the
fucking
gig was
shits,
really
and
out.
I don't use
I thought he
them
showed
words.
his cards most strongly here.
Actually,
So,
yeah.
as
I
you
thought
mentioned,
you
he's
wanted
sort of
to
this brave
explore.
truth
That's
teller,
why I
supposedly
didn't tell
about
you on purpose.
the white underclass and working class white
Jared
culture.
keeps yelling about all this stuff
But
that we allegedly knew
there's
and didn't
toward
tell
the end
him.
of the book,
And I'm
there's
like,
this
dude,
interesting
there's
You
like,
admitted you knew it.
where he goes through.
I knew it was
you
a
know, the
thing. I
percentage
didn't
of
know it was a
people who
thing in
believe
this.
Obama's
There's
a Muslim,
400 mods
or
in
that
this
he was
pack.
foreign
So
born,
odds
not an
are it
American
was a thing.
citizen. Those
No,
kinds of
Right? If
statistics.
there's 400 mods,
Well,
then more.
I'm quoting now,
It's
reading
kind of
from the
weird
book.
because
Many of my new
this,
friends blame
this is
racism
on that other
for this
mod
perception of the
loader,
president.
So it's like
But the
different
president feels like an
Yeah, that
alien
we
to
don't
many
play them.
Middletonians for
some of them
reasons
are
that
the
have nothing
same,
to do
some
with
of them
his skin color. Recall, no, listen.
I'll be
This
back
is
in a hot-
There was a search feature.
Recall that not a single one of my high school
Imagine if there was a search
classmates attended an
feature
Ivy
where you
League
could
school.
click on seeds and have
Barack
you tell
Obama
you all of
attended
the
two
sources
of them
that it could come
and
from,
excelled
and
at
then
both.
seeing that you could just
He
trade
is
someone to
brilliant,
get them.
wealthy,
Yeah, no,
and
that's not
speaks
one
like
of the
a
things,
constitutional
dude.
law
Where'd you go,
professor,
Justin?
which of course he is. Nothing about him bears
Justin,
any
stop.
resemblance to the people I admired growing up.
Oh,
His accent, clean,
There you go.
perfect,
Yeah, you went on
neutral,
that one.
Thank
is foreign.
you.
His credentials
found
are
one
so
so far.
impressive that they're frightening. He made his life in
MVP.
Chicago, a dense metropolis, and he conducts himself with the confidence that comes from knowing that the modern
Also, I
American
think you're in
meritocracy was
Dragon
built
Portal
for him.
or
Of course,
Waystone
Obama
went
overcame
kaboom.
adversity in his own
Again?
way. Adversity familiar to many
I
of us,
didn't
Yeah,
know
I
one.
but that was long before any of us knew them.
I have one
So
that's
if you boil
not
that down, he
next to
basically
it
says
in here.
these
So
people
It
weren't
won't-
bothered by Obama because of his skin color, but because of his
So what's better,
accent.
when you look at the
Which is
food?
just
The first
Well,
bar,
maybe he's
was
right
like
because
unbelievable.
solid food,
the
and second
background that
one
he
is like
described. I
the-
mean, look at George
the
W.
the
Bush
shield
has an
over
Ivy
the
League
food.
silver spoon back. His dad was
The
vice
second
president head of the
one-
fucking
the second
CIA.
one,
He
like,
grew up in
second
Maine,
one is
Saturation.
actually
but his
That's the
accent
good
sounded
one, I
like
think.
an asshole. So
That's the-
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And a lot-
So suddenly
wanna
like,
cause
this
you
criticism of
heels
white culture, and if you were going to be critical
so yeah, so
of
like a food that
white
gives
working
you
class
more
culture,
of
racism would be,
the food that gives you more
you know,
carbs.
and that would be part of the things you would
Could
want to
also fill it
criticize.
with
Here's the
juice.
thing, like, and then, like, you know,
Which is
he
what I've been
talks
doing.
in detail about this dysfunctional culture, right? I mean, like, even about his own relatives. I
sugar
think at one
addiction.
point, in one quote I read from the book, he
No,
describes,
there's
like,
no sugar. It's fruit
you know, how
and veg.
teachers didn't understand, like, you know, what do you do with kids when they're being raised by wolves?
It's literally just a
like, he refers
press.
to them as like actual wolves.
All-purpose
and talks
food
about
press
the
and-
violence and drug addiction, and he even
Croptopia
quotes
fruit.
their quote bizarre sexism and incuriosity as well.
I love the idea that like sexism is somehow bizarre, as
Yeah,
if like
yeah.
it's not just the way
you crack open a Guinness, Justin?
99.999% of the world
did a
is.
drink
Like it's
one
not
already.
the consequence of critical thinking and logic.
So
I
right,
told
so,
you
like,
you
this
were
is his
needing
description
one
of this culture. With,
Ben Four
so
pack.
like, what does he want
You only drank
people
one?
like, so let's say someone like me, to respect in that? Like, where is the sympathy he wants to come from? Where does the respect he wants to come from? And I think from what I can glean from this, the answer boils down to their
No, bro,
patriotism,
it's pretty wasted.
their sort of religiosity, and all of the things that right-wing social conservatives extol in.
I think I've literally had.
Basically, you're supposed to like all of the stuff that makes them vote Republicans when they do
Exactly.
vote,
Yeah.
and hate all of the
Pints?
stuff that conforms with the stereotype of black urban culture.
Yeah.
I think Matt.
That's the bad stuff. And by the way, it's kind of amazing to me that the cultures, the subcultures in America that have to be pathologized and described in terms of their just inveterate, self-defeating pathology are also the ones that are the most hard hit by economic dislocation. That seems like a weird coincidence. That communities that have the most distressed relationship with the changing economy are the ones
I'm over here drinking
that have the most
root beer
pathologizable
moonshine straight from
cultures. That's a weird
straight from
coinky
the
dink.
Mason jar.
Now this gets into the whole
Oh my
economics versus culture debate,
Yeah.
and to get there, I want to
What?
go back to this New Yorker article.
That's
again,
crazy.
because I think it's very instructive
Yeah.
about the way this book has been
not the first time I've
received
done
by
it.
the sort of broader elite media political culture.
Our mom got me.
Rothman writes here, it is through these back doors of
blackberry
memory and family
or
history that
elderberry?
hillbilly
It was some
elegy
kind of
arrives at its
dying the 1
broadest
year
subject.
for Christmas?
our hopelessly politicized
And I didn't know
approach
it had to be
thinking about
refrigerated
poverty.
after opening.
This theory is useful to politicians because political
I drank
ideologies
that.
function
No,
by
it was fine.
identifying
It was
some
in the
people as
fridge.
powerless and others as powerful.
After I saw
the
that,
truth, though,
I
is that
had
in
to
the
do
culture
that.
versus
Well, I think it was
economics
refrigerated
dyad is
anyways.
largely
I
a
drank it in,
fantasy.
like,
We are
2
neither
nights
prisoners of
over
our
a
economic
weekend.
circumstances
Oh my God.
nor lords of our culture able to reshape them at will.
Again, liberals and conservatives both
Well,
believe
last
what
weekend I
Milo
finished
believes,
off
which is that
with a bottle
politics
of
is
rum.
downstream from
Yep.
culture.
He says it would be more accurate to say that cultural and economic forces act with entwined and equal power and
I'm back
through
to
all
exploring
of us,
the end.
and that we have an ability, limited but real, to harness or resist.
See if
them.
I can't
I was
find
gonna
any
say, I
more
love
ships
this style of essay
with
writing where it's just like you get to the conclusion, then you're
dragon
like,
heads for Justin.
well, actually, the issue is pretty complicated, and the answer is a little bit of both.
Yeah.
He goes on. He
So
says,
is it
Only
an
one guy can do
exponential
it and make it
increase
good-
for
make
the
it
number
good.
you need
And he's
for
the father.
upgrade, Justin, or is it
Works
just
for Cranes Detroit. Y'all know who I'm
I think
talking
it is
about.
exponential, but like
Love
it
that
caps out
boy.
around like 50 or something.
Just
Could we
one
make
more.
an
It says,
end dragon
and yet
head
it would
with
be
you,
wrong to
matter?
see Vance's book as yet another entry in our endless
I
arguments.
haven't
about
figured out a
whether
way to
this or
make it. I
that
think
group's
the only way
poverty
is
caused
killing
by
it.
Economics or cultural
No,
factors.
you can't get it from a
Hillbilly
drop.
Elegy sees the economics versus cultural
many do we
divide
need?
as a dead metaphor, a form of manipulation.
I think we need a
rather than
couple. I think we're gonna
explanation,
need,
more
like,
likely
3
to
or 4,
conceal the truth
at least.
than
Yeah, I
to
didn't see
reveal it.
anything.
Okay.
There's
3 or
more
4?
truth there than the
At
reviewer
least,
knows.
maybe even
It's
more.
concealing a lot, but
Okay.
he's lying to himself that
I'll
this
keep
book
exploring.
isn't
Thank you.
absolutely an argument for the cultural forces.
A literal-
that make
Yeah, I
poverty
mean,
Flight
that's an
makes this so easy.
anti-materialist argument, and it's really the most
Yeah, it would be
traditional
so
conservative
hard
things. It talks
without
about the
that.
breakdown of families.
Yeah.
You know, it talks about like,
when
gee, I
John and Seth
wonder
had to
why
rescue
families
my
break
grades for
down.
me
Gee, I wonder
last time I was in here.
how, you know, if displacement and employment has anything to do with that. I
So now
wonder
I
if
could
there is
literally
any
just fly
correlation
and-
between drug addiction
You could fly then,
and
too. You
injuries
lost the
during
flight then.
you
Yeah,
know,
I did.
hard physical labor and just human misery.
And just hopelessness and just
Yeah.
general.
And also,
Well, the first time I couldn't
the
fly.
unwillingness to work when the only jobs on offer are fucking soul and body destroying nightmares. It's so amazing watching these people tut people's fucking work ethic when they sit in an air conditioned office and go, oh, you know, sometimes it's both.
Yeah, like
MacBooks and act like, well, they don't have the work ethic that I do. By the way, when's lunch? I'm feeling peckish.
yeah, JD Vance's literal job is to like ride segways next to Peter Thiel and be like, let's give $2 billion to another blog.
Nobody has time to balance.
And he's like shit talking everyone from his hometown, like they're lazy, they could never do my job. Where I have
love to see him go back to his hometown.
Yeah.
I would
blanket
pay.
party.
Here's the follow-up. Matthew, can you fill us on? JD has sort of gone back to his hometown, and by his hometown he means Columbus, Ohio.
Right, because that's where the airport is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, where the hell would you move to in Ohio? You know?
He's actually going to be a guest on Street Fights, next live show on 420.
It is like a show where it's like, these are why all poor white people are poor, because they run guns, but they lose all the money. They constantly fuck it up.
They spend their money on big shiny bikes.
Well, they spent their entire income from a year taking their bikes to Ireland to find.
Wait,
But what
Matthew,
are his prescriptions?
Yeah, could you give
though?
us a follow-up on he's going to Columbus, Ohio, specifically to do like the Charles Murray thing and get back in touch
every
with the
time I
real
try and
America
fucking Google
and
Minnesota,
provide
it's
them
like, we don't want
investment capital opportunities in the hollers or what?
Well,